Hello everybody, it is Star Raptor here, and welcome to my 1K subscriber milestone Q&A. That's right, 1,000 of you guys managed to stick around with me, or at least, hey, some of you are new. So today we are going to just hang out and chat. I'm not really playing any games, I just want to hang out with you guys in a stress-free sort of environment from that dying and whatnot, to just have a good conversation. Right off the bat, I just want to say to you guys that super excited that you guys have been around and that it's been a lot of fun. I think everybody on the channel especially has been super cool, right? Like, I don't really have any trolls or any haters that I've really discovered on the channel. I mean, you got a few people that might have disagree in the comments every once in a while, but I'm so grateful that the community that I have on this channel is super positive, and it really helps the spirits. It really inspires me to keep creating content, to keep making content. I did put up my 2020 my 2020 channel update, and what I did see is that a lot of you guys are happy about what's happening next. We're gonna be doing some more streams. We're also going to be doing a new video series called Outer Rim Transmissions, and that's going to be a lot of fun because that's going to be me with guests. And ooh, cool! You guys are already commenting, and I will address you guys in a minute. Just want to get a few things off my chest here while everybody's coming into the chat. But yeah, no, that was great. The Outer Rim Transmissions, I have 2 episodes up now. I have one with Matthew Wilson of The Geeks Attic. We talked about Star Wars Legends on the first episode. Then recently I had Dominic Jones of Star Wars Underworld, and we got a little bit carried away talking about the Clone Wars and the legacy of the Clone Wars and why is it so impactful to everything going on. Oh man, this is great. People are just already jumping into the chat and having a good time. I'm getting a suggestion that my audio stream's current bitrate 0 is lower than recommended. So if you guys can't hear me, please let me know, because I definitely got to have audio on this. I'm gonna listen into the stream real quick. I'm not the best when it comes to these things. I'm hoping. Okay, it's definitely working because I hear myself talk on the YouTube stream. Okay, all right. I'm gonna just go right into the comments. Go right in. I did have some of you guys that put out a call to arms. Oh, sweet. We have multiple people in the chat. This is great. I'm so excited because it's always fun talking to you guys live. And especially when I'm not getting killed by Ogdo Bogdos and Stormtroopers and Jedi Fallen Order. I can actually concentrate on my answers and put them together, hopefully better. But yeah, I did actually put a call to arms for everybody to send in comments early, especially if you guys couldn't make it live. At least I'd be able to get your comments answered on the stream, which is always fun. So I do have a couple of those I want to get through. But I am going to start going into the chat here and answering you guys. I have my good buddy from New York Comic Cons in the past. We have Dark Nerdy Gonzo, first NYCC friend, just got back from figure hunting at Target in the nick of time. How's the quarantine treating you up in your neck of the woods? Oh yes, so I actually looked at my local Target and my local Walmart recently. Wednesday actually, the comic shops finally opened, and my comic shop is in like a nice shopping area where they have a Walmart nearby and a Target. I went into both of those and I could not find a child from The Mandalorian because I did recently finally get, thanks to my mother, found me a Mandalorian Black Series figure. And apparently they were back ordered since Christmas. It was supposed to be a Christmas present. So it's one of those Black Series figures where it's like you can't just have one. Like, I gotta get the child now because I have the Mandalorian. Of course, I gotta get the child somehow. And I went to the Walmart and the Target, and neither of them had the child, unfortunately. I did see a lot of the Luke Skywalker ceremony on Yavin, which happens to be one of the cosplays I'm commonly seen in when I go to things like Star Wars Celebration, New York Comic Con. I still didn't pull the trigger on that Black Series figure. I probably should have him because he's somebody that I always costume as. It's just I have, like, I'm not even kidding, guys, I have probably about like 10 Black Series figures underneath my bed. The whole reason why I haven't opened them up yet is because I feel like I should be doing unboxings on them, which I used to do really regularly on the channel, and it's just one of those things that I stopped doing like the FFG Star Wars Legion miniatures. I stopped opening them up for a while because it was just really time consuming and a lot of other stuff was going on. Good thing is, not a lot of stuff is going on now, so maybe I will revisit some of those old video ideas that you guys might like. If there's something you want to see me do, please go ahead and recommend on a video if you guys want to see something, or you can always tweet me at Star Raptor if you want to see a certain video or me ramble on about something. That's always cool too. So yeah, Dark Dirty Gonzo, did you get anything at Target? Little story about me, Dark Gonzo. We met at New York Comic Con 3 or 4 years ago, I think, and it's so funny because there's literally hundreds of thousands of people that go to this convention, and we somehow always bump into each other every time. And well, it's kind of not that hard because we always meet at the Star Wars panels. I've never been to the Hasbro panel, but I gotta go one of these years because it seems like it's hilarious because everybody's always like, why isn't this figure made? And Hasbro just has to give some corporate answer of, oh, we got plenty, whatever they do there. But I gotta get out to one of those Hasbro panels definitely pretty soon. Okay, we're going next to Joel Davis. Hey, loved your podcast with Dominic. Very good conversation. Yeah, Dominic Jones of the Star Wars Underworld. He's another person that I met over at the New York Comic Con. Yeah, funny story with him is that I mentioned this on the Outer Rims transmission number 2. I met him when he first came to New York Comic Con. So I'm like getting like sidetracked because I'm reading the chat. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's like multiple people in this place. I keep saying that, but I'm happy that you guys showed up on a Friday night. Really, really appreciate that. But he was like on his way to go interview Dave Filoni, the creator of the Clone Wars, and I'm like, what? You're actually talking to Dave Filoni like in 5 minutes? Like, good luck, man. And that was like the first time I met Dominic Jones, and since then I've been on a couple podcasts between the Resistance podcast he had, KazudaCast, and I came on board with the Clone Wars for a guest, and I was on the Star Wars Underworld podcast once or twice, I think, at this point. And we talked about the Clone Wars a lot. Guys, let me know in the comment section down below. I know a lot of these people joining the chat probably have watched the latest season and the last season of the Clone Wars, so we could talk about that too if you guys want as well. Just shoot your questions in whenever you want. But yeah, really good conversation with Dominic Jones because he's lives and breathes the Clone Wars. That's what he was brought up on with Star Wars. That was his niche. Everybody has a niche with Star Wars, and we had a great conversation, and it went on for like an hour and 40 minutes. I was expecting it to go on for about 30-40 minutes, and it turned out into a full-fledged podcast by the end of it. So guys, definitely go ahead and check that out if you're Clone Wars fans. I think you guys can appreciate it. Oh, shout out to Rob D. Thanks for joining in on the chat. How's everybody doing? We got Jeffrey Watson. Hey y'all, how's it going? Dark Gonzo is confirming that he can hear me. Thank gosh, I'm actually being heard. That'd be a catastrophic failure if I planned all this around and nothing actually happened. We have Nathan Allen. Hi everybody. Glad I finally caught you live. Yeah, thanks for joining, man. How's everything going? I hope everybody's safe with what's going on with COVID-19. I'm here in New Jersey, United States, and we're not in the best spots, I guess you could say, because we're very, very close proximity to New York. A lot of people commute from New Jersey to New York. I'm not in the bad spot of New Jersey. I'm more in the central part. Northern New Jersey is pretty bad because of commuting and all that. But I'm doing fine. Family's fine. I'm still working, one of my jobs at least, so that's good. I can still make an income and still get some exercise on this job, which I have, which is pretty active, so that's good as well. Dark Nerdy Gonzo, yeah, the Hasbro panel at the last NYC 2019 was a crap show. They shafted me during their Q&A. Oh, that's sneaky Patrick Snyder. Oh, I gotta hear this story. What kind of question were you planning on asking them, man? Because I did kind of catch the Hasbro panel in a sense because they have a live stream set up over there in like the main hall of where all the exhibitors are, and they have a little live stage, and throughout the day they'll have like 15-minute interviews of different things from celebrities, and they had Hasbro for 15 minutes on there, and they showed off another Luke Skywalker. And I love Luke Skywalker. Like, he's my favorite character in Star Wars for many reasons. But it's gonna be nice when we can actually get action figures in waves that aren't including Luke Skywalker, because he's been done a lot. So we shall see. I never actually. The scary part is there's still Luke Skywalker's figures that I want to see, like the one on crate in a Black Series form. That'd be fun, but haven't really gotten anything like that except for the vintage line. So it will be interesting. It will be interesting. Just speaking of conventions, I mean, talking about what's going on with the convention scene. I mean, as of right now, we are about 3 months away from Star Wars Celebration Anaheim, and I would really love it to happen, but I don't see how it's going to happen. They sent us an email a couple weeks ago, and they said, oh, yeah, we're going to still try to have it as best we can, but be prepared because we might postpone it. It's all dealing with the government, right? Like, if the government says they can't do it, they can't do it, but the government really hasn't put their foot down because every day is different with this whole pandemic, so who knows what's going to happen. If it happens, I'll definitely be there. There'll probably be a lot less people there, and it probably would be like a United States. My speculation, I don't know any of this to be true, would be probably a lot of foreigners wouldn't be coming to Celebration, which would be very sad because it seems like a lot of them have like 2 week restriction quarantines where if they go somewhere and they come back, they have to quarantine for 2 weeks. All this is so fluid, and it's really kind of frustrating because it's like I just want to kind of plan my summer, although what is there to plan for at this point because there's really nothing open in my neck of the woods. So regardless of that, again, I hope everybody's enjoying hopefully the time off that you do have, and maybe you're doing something that you haven't done in a while, learning how to do something new, which is always good to do in like a brand new open amount of time, right? While you guys are hanging out there in a chat, I'm gonna actually start answering some of the questions that came in via different things like Twitter and YouTube. Oh, okay, so I'm going to respond real quick to Dark Nerdy Gonzo. He said, my Target only had the Empire 40th Black Series Lando, R2-D2, and Pilot Luke on the shelves, but last week they had the Vintage Collection Wave with the Photo Deco release that I picked up. Oh, yeah, so that's the one thing I mentioned, is the Lando Calrissian was at Target. They had a nice little end cap with the 40th anniversary of The Empire Strikes Back, and I was looking at the Lando, and I said, man, this Lando looks great, like, wow. I did hear confirmation that he is a different Lando than the it's not just like a repaint or a repackage or whatever they call it, but they redid the paint, and I think he has different joints. I heard of different things, but like I should have probably picked him up. He's pretty cool looking. But yeah, just still seen a lot of Rays. I didn't really see any even vintage figures. But the only 40th was the Lando one. By the way, did anybody watch Empire Strikes Back? Because it was apparently the 40th anniversary yesterday. I know I feel like a terrible fan because I didn't watch the 40th anniversary of The Empire Strikes Back on the day that had the 40th anniversary. I'll probably watch it eventually in the next week or two. I have a couple days coming up off of work for the holiday, so maybe I'll spend time watching it there. Nathan Allen, I stick to the smaller cons like or ICCC. That's a good one. Also local in the local stores. I've been 3D printing droids and droid parts. And he's also saying, I got the 40th Dagobah Black Series R2-D2. Really enjoy one I wanted of those. Oh, yeah, so that 40th anniversary R2, oh, man, it looks so cool. It's the R2 coming out of the swamp. So cool. So cool. Um, I've been 3D printing droids. Now, that is so cool because 3D printers have really come down in price, and I was not really thinking about buying them, but I was interested in them because for the miniature game that I mentioned, the Star Wars Legion, I have a couple videos about it on the channel. A lot of people actually 3D print the terrain and stuff. Actually, my terrain is 3D printed from Imperial Terrain out of Texas. And they have plenty of different kinds of printers you could buy. Some of them require more maintenance to set up than others, but man, the stuff you can make with 3D printed stuff is so cool. 3D printers are just like a godsend, really, when it comes to anything. Even like a lot of cosplayers will create like their blasters and different armor pieces from 3D printers, and it's like very easy. You just get the the file and you just let it go for a couple hours. I guess you could like leave it, go to work. I don't know like if that's a fire hazard, if you should really leave your house with that thing going on, or if it's like a slow cooker where it's like you could just leave and it'll be all right. I don't know, but it is really really awesome that they were able to do that. Um, what's ICCC? I've never heard of that convention. You're saying it's small. Yeah, there's a lot of local cons that were around my area. See, I'm in a good spot. I can go to Philadelphia or I can go to New York City. So between those two places, and even in New Jersey, there's one or two really small conventions that I can go to. Um, yeah, totally worth it. Nathan Allen's saying, I'll make a video showing my droids. Oh, cool. Oh, so Joel Davis is chiming in. He's saying I was able to get my hands on a Thrawn figure and a Thrawn Funko Pop thanks to the internet and my Bob. Oh man! And by the way, Joel Davis, I was on a video series called Arc Troopers with him and Dr. Holocron. And if you guys haven't checked that out, if you want Clone Wars discussion in absolute depth and detail, you gotta check out Dr. Holocron's channel. I put it out on my social media. I'm not sure if you guys follow me on Star Raptor. Not everybody has Twitter, but definitely go check out Dr. Holocron's YouTube channel, because me and Joel and Dr. Holocron break down every single arc of Season 7. We break down the Bad Batch arc, all those 4 episodes, the Ahsoka Walkabout arc, all 4 episodes, as well as, of course, Siege of Mandalore arc, all 4 of those episodes. And they are lengthy. Like, our last arc was like over 3 hours long. So again, if you guys want to listen to some breakdown, definitely check that out. Oh man, so I have my Thrawn figure here. Let me show you guys. Yeah, I might as well do a little show and tell without hopefully knocking everything over. And mind you, I haven't dusted this thing, so there's quite a bit of dust on here. But look at this. Check this out. This is my Thrawn figure. I don't leave some of them out of the box. Some of them I don't open, but I really enjoyed this one. This one was back in 2017. It was part of the wave of the Last Jedi figures for Force Friday back then. And I basically had to go to 3 stores, and I found it at Target. I ran over to the shelf where I thought Star Wars was, didn't see Star Wars. One of the workers said, "Oh, you can go over to this area where all the Last Jedi stuff is." And I'm like, "Thank you very much." And I was the first person over there as soon as the store opened, and that was the only Thrawn I've ever seen in the wild, ever. That was it. But the Funko Pops for Thrawn, man, that sounds like it'd be a cool pop to have because of his red eyes. I could just imagine how that would pop out. Whoa, they have... Okay, so... Sorry, I'm kind of like going all over the place with the comments because you guys are awesome for sending me so much feedback right now. I love it. So I'm going to try to my best to keep track of all these. Let's see. Nathan Allen is responding. IDC or ICCC Imperial Collector Commissary Convention. This sounds like a convention that Dark Nerdy Gonzo and me would love to go to because, I mean, come on. It's basically all Star Wars collecting. That sounds like just such a cool place to be, really. Like, Star Wars collecting is one of the best things about Star Wars for me. Like, I remember going to my local flea market called Columbus, and they would have a little toy store inside. And just the amount of Power of the Force Star Wars stuff that was there during the heyday when I was like 8 or 10 was just, it blew my mind every time I walked in there. Like, this is heaven. Like, there's Star Wars figures everywhere. So just the whole convention with just Imperial stuff is awesome. Alright, Dark Nerdy Gonzo. Yeah, my Target has the end cap with Star Wars socks, Black Series, Funko Pops galore, all the Mandalorian Funkos. They did have these cool Star Wars shirts themed after the Atari Star Wars game in an arcade. Oh, that's really cool. Arcade-shaped box. That's the thing, is I haven't seen a whole lot of Mandalorian merch at all. I guess it's just selling out so quickly. It's hard to come by. I haven't even seen a Funko Mandalorian pop. The only Funko Mandalorian pop I got for Christmas from my brother-in-law, and it's the Mandalorian, of course. I'm happy I got that. Again, I wasn't expecting to get that one. Nathan Allen, I cosplay when I got to go or get to go. Oh, he's saying it's 90% Star Wars. I figured it was probably the case because Star Wars is probably, correct me if I'm wrong, like the most collected action figures of all time, I would assume. Uh, what do you cosplay as, Nathan Allen? And Dark Dirty Gonzo is saying, pass by my house. Um, oh, he's saying about COVID. Yeah, my area, Central New Jersey, has been an interesting dumpster fire. The Raritan area, which is the northern part of New Jersey, the center convention hall, which is closed, converted to a testing center, and military convoy. Had a military convoy. Holy crap! Passed by his house. Yeah, see, North Jersey has it way worse than us down here in Central. And yes, Central Jersey exists. There is this ongoing debate that Central Jersey does not exist, whereas in fact there's plenty of sports teams and other businesses that pride themselves on having some sort of title saying Central Jersey. So don't let those people fool you that Central Jersey is in fact the thing. You can fight me on that one, Dark Nerdy Gonzo. All right, Rob D. Watch any good movies lately? Ah, you know what? I don't know the last time I really watched a movie. That's the really sad part. Oh yeah, I've seen a really good movie the other day. It was called Revenge of the Sith. There you go. No, seriously though, guys, like I haven't really watched a lot of movies because I've been watching more and more TV. Like that's my go-to right now. I've been watching the first thing I finished was Better Call Saul, at least season 5, I think that was. Or no, it was Curb Your Enthusiasm on HBO, the sitcom with Larry David from Seinfeld creator. Love that show, by the way. Watched that, then went into Curb Your Enthusiasm, then finished a series that is excellent called Preacher on AMC. That series is completely done. Then I also watched House of Cards, the final season. And then I'm working my way through Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 6 on Netflix. And then I'm going to start getting into Watchmen and Westworld, which I'm far behind on. So I got a lot of stuff to watch, and none of those are movies. But heck, a lot of those have the quality of movies. That's for darn sure. Yeah, so let's see. Joel Davis, I don't know much about the Hasbro toy scene, but all I know is that the toy industry, or maybe just Hasbro, is just a big mess and nightmare. At least from the collectors I talked to tell me. Yeah, Dark Gonzo would have to agree with you on that one, Joel Davis. What's frustrating is that Hasbro seems like most of the time they're like 3 steps behind what's currently being talked about and hyped about in Star Wars. Like, oh yeah, Mandalorian, like you would think we would have a Moff Gideon figure. You'd think we would have one of those like bounty hunters from episode 6, like the Deveronian or the Twi'lek, or like some of those really cool side characters. But no, we're getting all these characters that some of them are duplicates of, and okay, I guess you got to give them a pass because they had to put a lot of resources for the 40th anniversary of The Empire Strikes Back. And I get it, but there's still some other figures out there that I don't think are really relative to what's being talked about right now. We're finally getting, I guess, like Clone War stuff, but that took a long time. So I think it's just a lot about that. Let's see. Okay, Dark Nerdy Gonzo, all white buses with government license plates driven by G.I. Joes. That had to be kind of scary. Just seeing a military convoy passing by your house, like I can't say I've ever experienced that before. Oh, he does. Nathan Allen said he does a custom stormtrooper. That's really cool. So, I'll have to check that out. Let's see. Oh, that's really cool. Let's see. I don't even know. No. Oh, yeah, that's really cool. Sorry, I don't want to like take too long looking at a picture. If I was really adept at this, I would try to link it in a chat, but I feel like I'm gonna mess something up if I try to do that, or the stream will go down. Whew. All right. So yeah, this is great. Great, great, great. Like I did not expect this amount of let's see activity on this live stream, but I'm absolutely loving it because I still have questions I have to get to that were sent in ahead of time. So mind you, I got to get to that eventually. But yeah, Nathan Allen, that was an awesome cosplay, man. Like I really want to have an armored look about it. But I just don't know how to do it. I mean, I could do. I've taken apart my laptop from watching YouTube videos and put it back together, and it worked. So I find myself that I could be confident in following directions. If somebody had really good directions on YouTube for how to like make armor, I could probably do it. I just need A, the resources, and B, the time, and I could probably do it. All right, let's get back to the questions. What We Do in the Shadows is excellent. Okay, so that's a show that is created or directed or written or probably all of the above by Taika Waititi, who is one of the biggest names in Star Wars right now. He directed and was playing the character of IG-11, and now he has his own direction for a movie in the Star Wars universe, and he's also co-writing it with somebody from 1917, which was an absolute fantastic movie. Whew. So I am really excited for that because What We Do in the Shadows is basically a humorous take on vampires, is what I can gather. So I definitely got to check that out. Nathan Allen is also saying, I'm hoping the new line Fleet Missions has a lot of new characters, or Mission Fleet. I was one of those drivers once. Oh, wow, okay. Oh, wow, yeah, so we have a military guy. Thank you for your service, man, for Memorial Day coming up. We're celebrating here in America, everybody that was in the military at one point, and we thank everybody for putting their lives on the line and for putting a lot of sacrifice in going out there and serving their country. Really, really appreciate that. Um, and this is one of those things that goes back to the point he makes is about these mission fleet figures, and that's the point that Joel Davis asked a couple minutes ago. Is like he wasn't sure why there's so much hubbub about Hasbro. I think one of the big things is there's too many action figure lines, and there's like the vintage line, which is the 3 3/4 hyper articulated figures, and you have the Black Series, which is the 6-inch ones. Then now you have these mission fleets, which have like spaceships or whatever with them. Then you have the Galaxy of Adventures ones. Then you have probably some other ones. So like it's like 5 or 6. So they, I guess like Hasbro obviously has to spread the resources and everything around to these different figures, so they can't focus on one figure line or two figure lines, which most of the collectors would rather them do that. So it's kind of hard to really put out great new variety of content when they have to appease to all these different groups. Nerdy Gonzo is also saying, also talk about deja vu. I was used to get the exact Toy Story Columbus flea market. That place was always a mess in the back. I actually picked up my first Star Wars vehicle. Dude, I totally remember that. Like the whole place was like Watto's junk shop from the Phantom Menace. Like you go in there, and it's just like a dark corner where there's just figures like stacked up on figures. And I remember going back there, and I don't think my mom really liked going back there when I went there to look at it because she was probably thinking the same thing. Like, what is going on here? Oh man. Oh man, yeah, and Nathan Allen is oh there, let's see. Do. Oh, the ATST. I had the ATST and I think mine was broken somehow. Either my dog got to it or something. Joel Davis, something I'm appreciating about Star Wars TV is that it's feeling like it is at least has a good chance of playing into the wider universe than earlier Marvel TV did, even if those Marvel TV's shows were good. Yeah, so yeah, Star Wars TV does a better job than the movies, in my opinion, of the connections to just like the books and the comics and the movies it links into. It does a lot of great stuff with all that. I think Joel Davis might be specifically pointing out Marvel TV shows as Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I really like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. right now because it has gone off the deep end. There's people teleporting, there's people going back in time, there's people coming back from the dead. There's all sorts of zany, crazy stuff that you would think of from like a science fiction pulpy show, and that's what we're getting in Agents of Shield right now. And if you go back to the very first season, it was touted as a show that was very intricately linked with what was happening in the movies. And we had a character, Sif, I think her name is, from Thor, and we had Sam Jackson as Nick Fury. We had like a link to Winter Soldier where there was fighting going on, like, and Hydra. It was like all this awesome stuff that I thought worked out really well for making the show link into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And then it just went off the deep end, and it did its own thing. And when it did its own thing, it actually arguably got to be better quality in my opinion. But then you're looking at other things, right? Like the Marvel Netflix stuff was supposed to be very intertwined with all of what was going on in the MCU. Unfortunately, it didn't get close. There was like, oh, if you go into the office of one of the detectives, you'll see on the newspaper clipping that was posted on the bulletin board, like, oh yeah, there was that incident which was happening in Avengers with the New York City attack from the Kree or whoever they are. Not the Kree, the other aliens. There's too many aliens in Marvel. Probably not enough compared to Star Wars, but I always forget their names. So yeah, I Netflix stuff really was a bummer. I love the Netflix stuff. I think that Daredevil is still one of my favorite shows of all time. But the fact that it didn't link in was quite a disappointment. Trying to catch up on these questions. Oh my gosh. So much going on here. This is great. Let's see. Who... Yeah. So Nathan Allen's saying it mostly takes creativity. Yeah. So yeah, I gotta work on that. Dark Dirty Gunzo, the ATSC from the Power of the Force line. I picked that up there back in 1997. Sounds about right, yeah. Joel Davis is saying, I'm excited for Taika. The dude is a great storyteller and has a lot of heart. I think he's a good fit for Star Wars. Really want to see Jojo Rabbit. Yeah, so my first initial thought with this guy was, oh my gosh, what is he doing in Star Wars? Because that episode he directed, it was like 5 minutes of these scout troopers just like talking like it was like a fan film, like you would see from like the Troopers documentary or whatever that thing was, where there was the sand troopers in the desert, and it was that first like Star Wars parody video. It reminded me too much of that, where I was like taken out of it. I was like, okay, this is too comedic for Star Wars. Like there's a line and they just crossed it. But then you get further into the episode, and the thing with IG-11, I'm trying not to spoil too much of this, but that whole thing, because there's probably still people out there that haven't watched The Mandalorian, that whole thing was awesome. But yeah, I totally agree with you, Joel, is that like the whole heart that he has with Star Wars, but he has that comedic, lighthearted approach, but can get violent and it can get deadly very quickly with him. I think he'll do Star Wars justice, and I'm interested to see what he'll do with his own brand of Star Wars that has probably nothing to do with anything else that's ever created. Yeah, Jojo Rabbit, I definitely got to check that out. That seems like it's up my alley. World War II, I love anything World War II, and that just seems to be crazy. And he also won an Oscar for it, so it's got to be great if it did that. Rob D, McDonald's, Burger King, or Wendy's? It's something I ask everyone I'm sub to. Okay, I don't even know the last time I went to any of those. I used to go quite often as a kid, but I kind of stayed away from them. I would say Burger King, honestly. Like, I love the French fries from Burger King more than any of those other places. They have like the broiled fries, and the Whoppers are good. Like, but yeah, I don't know. You know, I had a craving for Burger King the other day, and I just never capitalized on that. Maybe I should change that soon now, especially with Burger King and I'm talking to. Alright, Nerdy Gonzo, Hasbro Shafter 3.75 inch, the main bread and butter of the line. It keeps making me more nonsense crap like those paddle bobblers. Okay, so this is what happened with me. So, when they did the whole new line with The Force Awakens, people were up in arms, myself included, about why are they making these new 6-inch figures when they were making 3 3/4 inch for the longest time, and that's what everybody has. That's what I have right now. You know, why would I have these 6-inch figures that aren't going to fit in with anything else that I have on the shelf? But now I've come to appreciate how cool these figures are, right? Like, look at this guy. I have a Death Trooper just on top of my desk right now. Oh gosh, this guy's really dusty. Like, that's how dusty it is. His helmet is clearly showing dust. But I just love that detail, and I love the form factor of him, and just the way you can easily put him on any kind of surface. At least this particular figure is easy to stand. Some of them are not the easiest to stand, that's for sure. But now I actually appreciate the 6-inch line more. I'll be honest, like, I have a lot of fun trying to just like put these figures in cool little spots around my shelves and whatnot, and I feel like they have better detail and better painting, easier to see with the detail on a bigger figure. Let's see. Okay, so Joel Davis is saying, I think my oldest Star Wars toy was probably Luke's old speeder. Yeah, it might have been mine too. Maybe even the toy that Luke was playing with in A New Hope. Oh, you got the Skyhopper. Yeah, the Skyhopper, the T-65 or whatever Skyhopper he's flying around with his hand. I love that thing. I have so many Star Wars toys, and one of these days I have them all. I still have them in like 3 giant tubs. I got to get them out and just look at them and stuff. I think one of the oldest ones I have is the speeder bike, and somehow I lost like the forks. It was like one of those like play action speeder bikes where the power of the force, it would shoot, somehow it would like eject like the front of the forks off, and all I have was the forks missing and the speeder bike. So yeah, there's a lot of good memories. I have that old speeder of Luke's. That was a lot of fun. Joel Davis is saying, I love the connections. I just hope they can balance out good individual stories and connections without bogging down each other. I think with the new Disney Plus series, which I think are up in the mix now with COVID-19, hopefully they still come out with Winter Soldier and Falcon and Winter Soldier or whatever by the end of the year. I think those are going to be way different than Netflix Marvel. I think they're going to be so inclined and entwined that you're going to need to watch them to really understand what's going to happen in the movie universe. Nerdy Gonzo, yes, for that toy store, I always expected an avalanche to occur in the back. I got to find a way to go back up to Columbus. Last time I was there was 2006 or so. Yeah, I don't think they have that store there, unfortunately. They have a much tidier, brighter store that has like classic vintage Star Wars figures. Like they have the Yoda that was like $80 like in the case. It was like, holy crap. Let's see. Joel Davis, no Spider-Man meeting Daredevil like in the comics. Yeah, you would think they're in the same neighborhood. Well, like, maybe Charlie Cox will be in Spider-Man 3. Wouldn't that be great? Or whatever that one's going to be called. Dark Nerdy Gonzo used to go there, get birch beer at the food place across from that toy shop. I remember that book magazine across from the toy shop that had the painted mural of cartoon characters with Bender, Homer Simpson, and Eric Cartman. Bringing back the memories. 3.75 inch for life, Dusty, enemy of collecting. That is so true, the enemy of collecting. Hey, Jason Percy, welcome to the stream. How you doing today, man? Let's see. Joel Davis, I hope whatever the next animated series is helps elevate the sequel trilogy in the same way Clone Wars did for the prequel films. Maybe the rumored Rebels sequel series will serve that function. So this is a huge debate, and I am literally waiting on bated breath every single week. Like, is this the week we're getting an announcement? Is this the week that they're going to actually announce what's next for animation in Star Wars? And I think it's imminent. I think it's imminent, maybe even as early as next week. And I'm just throwing dates out there for no particular reason. I don't have any insider source information or nothing. But I think they spent a lot of time promoting the Clone Wars, as they should. It had the spotlight. It was the end of the series. They need to put that out there because it's a big deal. And it was a big deal because it was amazing. But now we're like 2 or 3 weeks removed. And of course they had the 40th anniversary of Empire Strikes Back. If you go on StarWars.com, pretty much every article on there in the last 3 or 4 days is Empire Strikes Back related. That is now over. So what can they have to promote? Well, first off, they have to show us more about the High Republic, because that's coming out in about 3 months, and they're supposed to show us more about that, so that'll be another thing I'm very much looking forward to. But I think it's now imminent. I think it's had enough room in the brief with the Clone Wars out of the way. Maybe we'll start to actually get some solid concrete information, but I think that Resistance did a pretty good job of starting to flesh out the universe. At least with Resistance, how it at least like showed the connection between the First Order and how they kind of measled their way into the confines of the government of the New Republic, and how they had a foothold into the outer rim planets that were out of the reach. But yeah, there's plenty of ideas, and the thing is though, the Clone Wars, right? It's a 3-year period of time. That's relatively short in the span of Star Wars for sure. Whereas the gap between the sequels and Return of the Jedi is 30 years, and I guess I'm assuming that's what you're talking about. Um, Rebels, yeah, so that's what you were talking about after Return of the Jedi. So 30 years gap, like you're gonna have to have like 5 or 6 different series of shows in that gap, because you can't just have one long series, because that'll last for like 40 years in our own time. I mean, they could do that, but would they really want to commit to like 30 seasons of a show? They've done it with Simpsons, or I guess, but this is not a sitcom. This is not. This is a narrative, and it's been proven if you have a narrative that goes longer than like 7 or 8 seasons, people start to get a little bit bored and stale because things start to tend to repeat themselves. So, my idea, if they were to ask me what to do, it would be like, oh, make a series about Luke Skywalker's Academy, make a series about Ezra and Thrawn and the Unknown Regions. Like, you'd have to split several series up apart and just dole them out that way, like every 7-8 seasons, then you start a new one, and by the end of like 20 years we'll have a really good idea of what happened in those 30 years, plus all the books and the comics and whatnot. That's just my 2 cents. Again, I'm not a creative mind, I don't write or anything, so I have very rudimentary thinking when it goes in that regard, but I think that's the most simple way of doing it. The Nerdy Gonzo, the exploding speeder bikes were fun back then. If you're looking for Mando Funko Pops, I could try to pick you up some if you want. Thanks for that, man. Yeah, that was a lot of fun with those exploding speeder bikes until you lose them like I do, and now you have a speeder bike without a fork. But anyway, the Funko Pops, I have a couple of them. I'm not a huge collector anymore, simply because I'm running out of space, and like I said before, like I have at least like 10 Black Series figures just stashed in their boxes underneath my bed, and eventually I want to change up the setup because I've been having the same setup for years now. I mean, every once in a while I add something. The last thing I put up there was a Darth Vader Hyper Reel, which that's still my favorite figure, but I'm going to hold off on the collecting because when I started getting to Star Wars Legion painting and miniatures, I definitely wanted to hold back on Black Series because there was just too much going on with collecting at that point. Oh, man. Oh, yeah, Nathan Allen loved Resistance. Yeah, I'm talking to Matthew Wilson from the Geeks Addict, and he's currently watching Resistance. And I let him know, like, you know, Kaz is a little bit clumsy. You know, this is going to be aimed for a younger audience. Not saying you're not going to love it, but he actually loves it more than anything else in Star Wars right now for the series. And that's awesome. Like, everybody has a different taste and opinion. Parts of Resistance I love, and parts of Resistance I dislike, but the overall thing is it's a very enjoyable series. Joel Davis said, I think the best story one could tell would be Ahsoka in the Spirit Realm, aiding the Jedi of old to become Force ghosts so they can help Rey on Exegol. Whew, that is really deep, man. That is extremely deep, but that was so cool that they included her voice in The Rise of Skywalker for sure. Then maybe in the real world, Thrawn in the Unknown Regions is doing stuff. Maybe join the First Order, and Ezra and Sabine are involved. Oh, and Mortis, since Filoni loves Mortis. Yeah, you gotta throw those crazy time warp Filoni ideas whenever you're doing Star Wars, because that's what Filoni does. I think a prime character people forget, or at least it seems like people from Lucasfilm might have forgotten about, is Rey Sloane. What happened with Grand Admiral Rey Sloane from the Aftermath trilogy of novels from Chuck Wendig? Last we see her, she's going to start the First Order, or at least that's what the line kind of implies, and she goes out with a fleet of Star Destroyers in the Unknown Regions after the Battle of Jakku. We haven't heard from her since, except in the Phasma novel, where there is a slight mention of her in a conversation between Hux and Phasma. And that was it. Like, we don't see her. I thought for sure we would see her in Rise of Skywalker as a cameo character. Didn't see her there either. So I'm like, okay, I gotta see this character, or at least hear about her. Let's have a series about Rey Sloane in the Imperial's remnant army, going up against these so-called mysterious forces of evil that are in the unknown regions that are taking them apart. And what makes them battle-worthy to become the First Orders, these conflicts that Grand Admiral Rey Sloane goes through. I think that could be a fascinating idea of, like, who the heck is out there. It's probably the Grisk from the Thrawn novels, which I absolutely adore. By the way, we're getting a new Thrawn trilogy prequels of what happened before in October with Ascendancy trilogy. Chaos Rising is the first one. Dark Nerdy Gonzo, don't worry, I will tell the tale of Hasbro NYC 2019 panel before the live stream ends. Try to keep up. More shelves. I know. I could get more shelves. I could. I'm gonna take a quick break from reading the chat because I do want to answer these questions I've been trying to get to, but you guys are just sending me so many questions, and then keep doing it because I'm going to get to everybody's question before the end of this thing. I don't have a necessary timeline on the live stream, but probably won't go over 2 hours if I even get that far. We'll see. I enjoy this conversation. It's been a lot of fun so far. So I'm going to go over to Twitter where, from @RobinMcCormick. He asks, would you like to see a bit more Clone Wars stories, specifically stories that were unmade or unfinished? Yes, so this is a very relative question to where we are now with the Clone Wars officially being ended. They keep claiming it is the final season. And the way it goes out with the final season is, I wouldn't really want the Clone Wars to end in any other way. Okay, granted, I would like a nice little epilogue maybe to tie everything in, but other than that, I don't think there was a more epic story you could have gone out with the Siege of Mandalore intertwining with the events of Revenge of the Sith. So I'm going to put a pin on the last comment that I didn't read in the live chat. I will circle back to you guys. Don't worry, I'm not forgetting about you. I just want to give these guys their due effort for sending me stuff in ahead of time. I will get to your questions. Do not worry. Let me just talk about this. So the Clone Wars, there's plenty of arcs out there that have been in development that were never finished. I mean, we had the Utapau arc they gave us in story reels that used to be on StarWars.com that they somehow took down, but it had to deal with Obi-Wan and Anakin on Utapau dealing with this gigantic kyber crystal that was hinted at being part of eventually the Death Star program. We also had an arc with Chewbacca, or not, I don't know, was it Chewbacca? But the Wookiees of Kashyyyk with Yoda and the Bad Batch that were introduced in Season 7. I would have loved to see that because it seems like Yoda has a pretty good relationship with the Wookiees, and it's probably because of that arc that he develops that, and Tarful, I think, might have been in the arc as well. There's another really cool arc that has to deal with the Sith temple underneath the Jedi temple. So in canon, it is now known that the Jedi temples were actually built, and I think this was because of Resistance introduced this idea, that the Jedi temples were actually built on the locust points of power of the Sith ancient temples to kind of negate the Sith temples' influence on the planet. They would build the Jedi temples on top of those. So pretty much any Jedi temple you find, there will be a Sith lair underneath. So one of the Clone Wars arcs was going to involve them going to the Jedi temple on Coruscant and discovering that Sith temple that we find out actually exists. I think it's through the Tarkin novel that we find out that Sheev Palpatine, his name was revealed as Sheev Palpatine in the Tarkin book, was underneath that temple the whole time. Other arcs include a Rex Top Gun R2-D2 arc where he's piloting some kind of starship. There's the one that a lot of people want is the Boba Fett and the Cad Bane story. So Boba Fett gets taught by Cad Bane a lot of useful skills, and in fact, in that arc, they both like duel and they shoot each other. There's a little they showed this at one of the Celebration show reels. It wasn't finished, and they basically Cad Bane shoots Boba in a helmet and dents the helmet, and that's how we get the dent. So you could probably use that as headcanon that Cad Bane gave Boba Fett the dent, but it isn't really official yet since it hasn't really been released officially. There's another arc that involved apparently a Yuzong Vong. I would love to see that. I never really dived into canon that had the Yuzong Vong. The New Jedi Order, what is it? The something Prime that novel. I do have it. I haven't read it yet. It's the one that Chewie dies from getting crushed by Moon. I know it's crazy. That's why I haven't really rushed to reading it yet, because it just seemed nuts. But but that is another arc they could have had, was the Yuzong Vong arc. And so long story short, yes, I would love to see these arcs, but in the same time, I feel like if I seen these arcs now, it might kind of diminish the fact that the Clone Wars ended on such a high note that I wouldn't want another arc to like come out and be like lackluster and be like, oh, that was the legacy of the Clone Wars ending on that, kind of like disappointing. But I mean, screw it, just give me the arcs. I want to watch them. Simple as that. Okay, so moving on to some YouTube questions that were sent in from the post feature I put it up on there of the picture. This one's from Star Wars Speculation. This guy, Mike from Star Wars Speculation, has such awesome theories on his channel. Check out his YouTube channel, Star Wars Speculation, exactly as it sounds. He's asking me, what is currently your favorite video game? Currently, my favorite video game has to be either The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt or the Red Dead Redemption 2. I'm currently playing through a lot of video games as we speak, and he's saying favorite game. So it may not be it's like the best mechanics, or it's the game I enjoy right now. I'm playing through a lot of games with the quarantine, having more time off of work. I've been able to get in more game time. The last game I beat was Gears Tactics. I actually put up my review of that earlier this week, so you could definitely check that out. I had a lot of fun. It's a tactics-based game. Very frustratingly hard at points, but I somehow managed to get through it. Jedi Fallen Order might be my favorite game right now. I've played through the game 3 times, guys. I played through it on Jedi Knight, Jedi Master, and I went through on New Journey Plus, and played through that with the Inquisitor skin on Cal Kestis with the red lightsabers. Badass, guys. Badass. You gotta... What I love about the Jedi Fallen Order game is how authentic it feels to Star Wars. Everything from the sound to spectacular visuals to the feel of the combat itself. Not even from a Star Wars game, just like from a perspective of mechanisms that were implemented from other games that work so flawlessly as they're mixed together into this one amalgamation of this awesome product. You have stuff from the Metroidvania games where you have to go around different areas, discover things, great stuff. You have Dark Souls kind of content where if you die, you have to start somewhere else and you lose points and you kill somebody to get your stuff back. Really, really awesome, brilliant design. You have like the God of War-esque kind of combat as well. And I've recently started playing Assassin's Creed Origins, which I'm really enjoying, just like losing myself in immersion wise with all of what's going on in there. And the combat doesn't hold a candle to Jedi Fallen Order. I'm finding that out very quickly, as every button was different and it felt a little bit clunkier to me, the combat in Origins. And it's definitely not as difficult, but it just doesn't feel as good as Jedi Fallen Order and what the guys at Respawn Studio have done. Really enjoyed that. Moving on to another question here. This one is also on YouTube. Ftendo, awesome. He sends in 2 questions, actually. How does it feel to hit 1,000 subs? Hitting 1,000 subs is a pretty good feeling. I'm not going to lie. It kind of snuck up on me. I mean, I've been doing this channel for a couple of years, and then it was like, oh, I'm in the 900s. And like, I'm not one of those people... And, no offense to you if you are or anything, I'm just saying, like, I'm not one of those people that just, like, give stuff away on the channel just to make more subscribers. Like, if you guys like my stuff, you subscribe to the channel. It's as simple as that. If you don't like my stuff, you don't subscribe to the channel. Like, it's as simple as I'm not annoying people to subscribe to the channel, essentially. So, when it happens, it happens. This is not my source of income or anything like that. I'm just doing it because I have fun with doing it, and I like to have like a soundboard to just speak to. And if somebody listens to me, they listen to me, and if they want to talk, even, hey, that's better yet. That's exactly what's going on in the chat right now, which is awesome. But yeah, it feels kind of cool because I unlocked this new feature where I can send YouTube posts out. And what's cool is the more subscribers you have, the more people that can respond to you, which means the more of a community you kind of build, the more cool stuff I could do, like live streams where people show up and I have great conversations about what's going on. Like right this minute is just a lot of fun. The second question that he sends in is Star Wars The Phantom Menace one of your favorite Star Wars movies? Star Wars The Phantom Menace, and this goes for any Star Wars movie, and it's kind of like my answer with the games. Like, I don't I don't hate any Star Wars movie. Some people probably do out there. There's a lot of people that don't like the Phantom Menace, and I'm not one of them. I think one of those will be tied to the nostalgia. I was about 10 years old, the same age of Anakin Skywalker when that movie came out. So I was at the ripe age for the stories that George Lucas was targeting his audiences with. Like, this is your growing of age story, this is mythology, this is the lessons you're learning, and you're doing it through the lens of this kid who grew up on Tatooine and is getting transported into a larger world. And I mean, come on, like, especially with all the new canon stuff, like the Master and Apprentice novel by Claudia Gray totally enhanced the Phantom Menace for me with everything going on between Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan Kenobi. The more I dive into the lore of Star Wars, the more I appreciate Star Wars: The Phantom Menace, because it just builds so much groundwork and lays so much there for the world building of Star Wars and the Jedi and the backdrop of what will become the original trilogy. It's super important. And yeah, I mean, it's definitely one of my favorite Star Wars movies, because every Star Wars movie is one of my favorites. It's just that simple. It's hard for me to choose. And finally, my last question sent to me ahead of time on YouTube by Millie Ackland Ryder. They are asking, what are your first Star Wars related memories? Did you ever watch them in order of release or chronology? My first Star Wars related memory goes back, and I told the story many times, goes back to me, probably was like 5 or 6, and I had a good buddy down the street, and I would go over there all the time, and I remember being in his room watching Return of the Jedi and being both horrified and intrigued by this big slug guy, who I later learned was Jabba the Hutt. And I've really had a soft spot for the aliens ever since in Star Wars, and that's been one of the focal points for me. It was like, oh, the aliens, like, oh, there's a new alien introduced in this movie. I gotta learn more about the different things about these aliens. It's just, that kind of drew me into it a lot. And I do remember going to see the special editions, and seeing all the changes they made. Again, Jabba the Hutt was in A New Hope now, and I was so happy to see him, even as jarring as that scene is now, watching it, 20 years later or whatever. For Star Wars, yeah, but I watched them, and that's interesting, right? Because it's how do I introduce Star Wars to people that have not seen it before? And that could be a question to anybody in the chat right now. Do you have people watch them in release order or chronology? Because I think it's such a cool experiment. And if I were to show somebody like, oh, just watch episode 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and tell me how you feel. Tell me how the reaction to Anakin being Darth Vader was. Like that would be really cool to see somebody experience, like, oh my gosh, he's turning to the dark side. That's that guy I've seen everybody costuming as on Halloween. Is that Darth Vader? That's actually Anakin. Oh my gosh. Like that would be tragic to see somebody, to see that experience. But then it's also very good to see it the way that George Lucas originally made them as well, because you get so much more emphasis on the characters and everything, what's going on in the original trilogy with the choices that Vader makes and all of that. So, that was a great question. Everybody that sent in the questions, awesome job. Really appreciate that feedback and everybody just getting involved. And it's been a lot of fun. And now I'm going to go back to the chat here. Live chat. Ooh, man. We've got a lot of stuff to catch up on. Stay with me, guys. So I'm going back to Dark Nerdy Gonzo's typing thick fingers, bashing at a Chromebook keyboard. The war is on. Yeah, those things look pretty nifty. They look pretty cool, pretty neat. Nathan Allen, the military aspect of CAS reminded me of an Air Force reservist while on active duty. Clumsy, wanted to prove himself so much. Love that aspect of it. Yeah, see, I think they took it too far in my opinion, as he's tripping and things are catching on his hand and the little bitey thing and all that. Joel Davis, if the rumor of an Aftermath character is appearing in The Mandalorian, then that gives me hope Sloan would come into the fold of wider media. Maybe live actions, maybe animated. Oh man, yeah, so I don't want to spoil it, but it's probably already out there for everybody. It's impossible to avoid these Mandalorian spoilers. And I kind of want to dwell on this as Joel's bringing it up. What do you guys feel about the current state of these rumors and these speculations going out every other day? Because it's starting to get to me a little bit, because I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter. It's not like I can't just ignore these things that pop up on my feed by various people. It's like, oh, we got this character who's coming in. We got this character who's coming in Mandalorian. We got this character. I'm like, oh, please don't make this universe smaller, because that was the great thing about Mandalorian, is that we had these characters that stood on their own. There was only like one connection with all of Star Wars, and that was, well, actually two. There was Tatooine, and there was the Darksaber. Those were like the only connections to Star Wars that we knew. And now it seems like we're getting all these other characters. Now, mind you, here's the thing though. They're not going to be shoehorned in. From what I can gather, these characters will have meaningful roles to play in Star Wars. Like, there's without a doubt, there are important stories that they have to be there. It's just maybe they didn't have to be there all in the same season. Like, oh, you have a certain character make an appearance in season 3, and another one in season 4. So that way you have something to look forward to, something that'll be the big talking point. Because what comes out after season 2? I mean, yeah, that's a stupid question, because you know they can always add more characters in. But then the same argument could be like, okay, Star Wars Rebels kind of got to be known almost as like, oh, the show that was full of cameos, and the show that will be just all about Lando Calrissian showing up, Wedge Antilles showing up, like all these characters that show up and they just leave. You know what I mean? Like, we don't want the Mandalorian to be like that. That would be a little bit unfortunate there. But I would love to see more of Sloane. Hell yeah, give me more Sloane. Joel Davis. But if I'm honest, I want to know what happened to Thrawn in the post-ROTG era. He can be evil. You can redeem him. I don't care. I want to see what happened to him. He's a personal favorite of mine. But I would love to see if Thrawn was connected to the reborn Palpatine, as sort of an homage to the Thrawn trilogy. Came right before the Dark Empire comics in the old Legends timeline. Yeah, so Joel Davis, as I'm reading, he's very knowledgeable when it comes to Legend. This guy knows a lot, and he's a proponent for getting some stuff canonized from Legends, and I'm right there with him. There's a lot of characters that I want to see, a lot of little storylines that should be cool to see in a new light in canon. And yeah, ROTG era. And what's really interesting about Thrawn, I was talking with Matthew Wilson on our first episode of Outer Rim Transmissions about this, is Thrawn is a character, and what Timothy Zahn has done with the character is he's able to write him new stories in canon that don't actually contradict his Legends appearances. So right now, like, if you want to think as the stuff that happened with Thrawn was like headcanon in Legends, like, you could pretty much do that, because like nothing contradicts what happens. We'll see with the Ascendancy trilogy what happens there. But I mean, I would love to see them kind of remake the Thrawn trilogy in a way with Thrawn, and I don't know how Ezra would fit into that, but that could be a thing. I mean, they have Captain Pelion. He was in like the last episode of Rebels, so it almost seems like they brought him in. They have Rook, who got killed off in Rebels, but he was a big character in the Thrawn trilogy, so they've already started laying the seeds for that. But if Thrawn was connected to the reborn Palpatine, that would be interesting for sure. Dark Nerdy Gonzo saying Rebels sequel series needs to have the Yuzong Vong. I don't know about that, man. I don't know about that. I think what they're going to use is they're going to use the Grisk, who were introduced in Thrawn Alliances with that story with Vader and Thrawn on a road trip over to Batuu. There's these. I want to see more of the Grisk. We haven't gotten an official visual appearance of them in anything, which I find very interesting. But they are a species that basically plays at the psychology of their enemies rather than just absolute brute strength. They have strength, but they have a way of terrorizing their enemies into becoming almost like their slaves and their subjects, and then they use their weaponry against them. And at one point, they actually had a weapon that was a sort of organic weapon. And if you guys know about the Yuzong Vong were very much an organic weaponry type of character race. And I don't really read the Yuzong Vong stuff, as I mentioned before, but at least that I can gather from conversations I've had with buddies of mine who read that stuff. So that could definitely happen, is there could be a connection to the Yuzong Vong, especially if they're already going to be thought of in Clone Wars. I could see them maybe being in there. Dark Nerdy Gonzo, bring back more legends into the Disney canon. I'm still waiting for Dash Rendar to show up, man. I'm still waiting for Dash Rendar to show up. We are getting a comic series set in between The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. And before all the COVID-19 stuff happened, we were about to like do some really cool stuff in the Star Wars comics, like with Luke Skywalker going on this journey to find this like person talking to him through the Force and all that. That's when Dash Rendar shows up and Shadows of the Empire is in between Empire and Return of the Jedi. We're getting stories told right there, right now. Why not bring in Zizor as well with Dash Rendar and give him a new story? People love those characters. Not there's some people that don't like Dash Rendar for many reasons, but I can't understand why. Joel Davis at Nerdy Gonzo. Funny enough, they have mentioned a lot of the old Tales of the Jedi stuff in several source books like Naga Shadow, Revan, Exar Kun, Caravan, etc., etc. Nerdy Gonzo, Joel Dervis, true, like Dash Rendar, that one solo book, and Ezog Bob are going to be part of the... See, this is my love, when you guys actually talk to each other in a chat. It's so cool. This community is awesome, guys. Keep being good, alright? But yeah, no, they were plenty of hints in the legend stuff about the Old Republic, which gets me so excited because Revan... Okay, so back up a little bit. In the Rise of Skywalker visual dictionary, there are the Sith Eternal Fleet, and they are named after legions. Their legions are named after Sith Lords, so they've pretty much canonized that Revan is there, and I think Naga Shadow and Exar Kun might have been one of them. And Korriban is mentioned to be the old... Morban used to be called Korriban. They're the same place, but for whatever reason, after time, people started calling it Morban. But just know that Morban used to be Korriban, so technically still canon. Let's see. And yeah, Dash Rendar, by the book, there was this little source book, and they mentioned like Dash. They don't say Dash Rendar, but in one thing they say Dash, and in another thing they say Rendar. But it's like, okay, you said Dash and Rendar in the same book. Let's say that he's canon now. Dark Nerdy Gonzo, Vector Prime was a solid start for the New Jedi Order. Disney should have minded it more, along with the legacy of the rehashed trilogy. Oops, me trilogy. And I get it, man. I get it. There's a lot of people that were disappointed by the sequel trilogy. Heck, I'm disappointed by certain aspects. It's just hard to appease everybody's wants and dreams of what they had in their head for 20 plus years or however long it could have been. It's just, that's how it is. Nathan Allen, thanks so much for joining it on the stream. I hope you have a good day, man, and stay well. Thanks for all that. It's been great. Dark Nerdy Gonzo, I'd love to see more of the Inquisitors in the new canon. Would like to see a few of them in an after Return of the Jedi setting. Now that's the kind of storytelling that I would love to see. Seriously, like to see more Inquisitors. Let's see. Oh wow. I just like went, okay, there we go. I thought I lost the stream for a minute there. Oh yeah, so Joel Davis is saying alongside of that, the second sister was probably the best Inquisitor if you got so far. Yeah, oh yeah. Jedi Fallen Order, and I didn't even mention that. Like, I was talking about all of the game mechanics of what makes Jedi Fallen Order great, and I totally stumbled over that the storyline was amazing. And the fact that the character of the second sister is so layered is so hopeful for the future of Star Wars storytelling in the video game medium. Like, to get that kind of storytelling is so cool. And I want to see stories about the Inquisitors going up against a Maul, because Maul has an Inquisitor lightsaber. Let's see how he gets that lightsaber. Let's see him, because we see him in his prime in Clone Wars, and he doesn't even need a lightsaber. He's throwing people all over the place, like shooting everybody with their own blaster. Like, he's absolutely unleashed, like he's like Starkiller from The Force Unleashed, which maybe we'll see him as an Inquisitor one day. I think that would be really cool if we get a bunch of new Inquisitors in the sequel for Jedi Fallen Order, and one of them is none other than Galen Merrick. Or what happens if Cal Kestis becomes like the spiritual successor of Galen Merrick, aka Starkiller, and you become the apprentice of Darth Vader because Darth Vader has encountered you. Oh, sorry, spoilers if you guys haven't played Jedi Fallen Order. Probably most of you heard this at least, but sorry. He could be Darth Vader's apprentice eventually, and then the whole second game could be him just turning to the dark side, or his master could be. Dark Dirty Gonzo. One of the few things I liked about the Disney canon was how they rebooted the Inquisitors. Yeah, I didn't even know about the rebooting of the Inquisitors. I didn't know they were a thing before Star Wars Rebels. I mean, it would make sense that Vader wouldn't be the only one hunting the Jedi, but it's still so cool to see these ex-Jedi going around with red lightsabers. So I'm going to be going back, responding to some of your questions of when I was talking about the YouTubers' questions. The Phantom Menace is Dark Nerd Gods. The Phantom Menace rules. I'll always defend the flick, but the Rise of Skywalker. I totally feel you, man. The Rise of Skywalker is probably my least favorite Star Wars movie. Still like a lot of it, but right now it's just I need a little bit of a break from it, I guess. Joel Davis, I like the release order because I like watching the evolution of Star Wars as a franchise, but chronological orders too. Yeah, it's got to be a little bit jarring when you go from the prequels to the original trilogy, especially if you're showing like a kid. The kid would probably be really confused. Like, wait, why is everything look so much worse? Like, and you have to sit there and you have to explain. Well, actually, this movie came out in 1977, and then this one 1980, and this one 1983. And they'd be like, "What? Why are we watching them?" It's probably better off just watch them or release order. Nerdy Gonzo chronological order all the way through. The Legends canon after Jedi is my Star Wars more than Episode 7, 8, and 9. Only major downside is the old main canon Legends, which is just the legacy of the Force Affair of the Jedi series of novels. Oh, okay. See, I didn't know about that. Joel Davis, most of Thrawn's backstory is intact. Yes, it would be hard to do a full-on Thrawn trilogy, though, since that would require a massive Empire resurgence in the galaxy. Well, here's the thing. You've seen how many men Moff Gideon had. He had an entire battalion of stormtroopers. Now it's a little unrealistic that, Cara Dune and Grief Karga and Din Djarin and IG-11 were able to take out pretty much all of them on their own. But they were all in very shiny armor. There was a new TIE fighter that we had never seen. I think there could be a very large Imperial remnant. A very large. I mean, you think about the prime time of the Empire, right? Their surge in victory over the rebellion at the Battle of Hoth. They must have had so much more units in demand or in reserve after Return of the Jedi still. So you would think that they would consolidate their contingency plans and whatnot. And we know from Aftermath there's a lot of Moffs fighting over each other and stuff like that. So it could be a thing there too. Let's see. And let's see. Oh yeah, Nerdy Gonzo. Star Wars comic series Legacy from Dark Souls was glorious. Yeah, I keep hearing things about Legacy. Dark Gonzo. Is that the one that was like 100 or something years after the events of Star Wars? Like it was like a great descendant of Luke Skywalker, Cade Skywalker, I think. And Joel Davis, and that does not happen in New Canon until the Return of the First Order, and the galaxy had a good 20 years of peace with no imperial threats. But here's the thing, Joel. Have we ever got... That's the thing. The good thing about Lucasfilm is they haven't really told us anything about that 30-year gap. Like, there is a huge swath of time. Like, okay, so the most we know about this time, and granted, we have the Poe Dameron novel coming out, which is like 15 years after Return of the Jedi. But the furthest we go after Return of the Jedi is 2 years after Return of the Jedi, and that's with the Last Shot novel between Han Solo and Lando. And then the furthest we get away from The Force Awakens is 6 years before with Bloodline. So there's that huge gap in the middle after 2 years after Return of the Jedi, but before that 6 years before Force Awakens, there could be a huge ass war. And they just haven't talked about it yet. Or it could be like a Cold War where a lot of stuff has happened, but it hasn't officially been detailed for the New Republic. Like, there's a lot of ways around, like, story elements. There's a lot of ways around that they could be like, oh, New Republic, whatever, this and that. Like, who knows? So there's still a way around it. I feel confident that there could be another war that we just don't even know about. Maybe in the unknown regions or some other factions we don't know about. Nerdy Gonzo Rendar was referenced in one of the solo books of Disney canon. We'll have to have Darth Miles make a comeback. This brings up the High Republic conversation. So there are this new faction of, they call them Space Vikings. They're called the Nile. So I heard somebody say, "Oh, they're called the Nile. They must be like the disciples of Darth Nihilus, maybe." So maybe that's what it is. Maybe we're gonna see a reference to like, oh, they worshipped Darth Nihilus or something like that. That'd be really cool. Let's see what's going on here. Hey, Brian Stirpub, how you doing, man? Woo, we're getting very lively tonight. I love all this activity on the channel. So cool. Alright, Joel Davis, the irony of them mining stuff from Legends is that most likely by accident the ST is a movie remake now of the Dark Empire story. We're born Power Thing, etc., etc. That's exactly why I didn't read the Dark Empire story before I watched Return or Rise of Skywalker. I was like, I can't have anything on my mind that gives me any idea of how the story is going to end or how it's going to go. And I wanted to go in perfectly blind. And I did, and I was not spoiled, and I was very happy. Although I did see a leaked picture of Palpatine. But it was like, we already knew Palpatine was in a movie, so it was like not a huge deal. But it was like, I didn't want to see that, you know what I mean? Let's see, Joel, he's continuing on with that point. Joel Davis, with a mix of Legacy of the Force storyline with the idea of a Solo child turning the dark side. In Legends, Jason Solo now in canon, Ben Solo. Like, seriously, if you look at Dark Empire, there are a lot of parallels to the ST. Republic becomes a rebellion again. The Empire returns to full power with super weapons. It's fascinating. Yeah, it's kind of just like, did we really need to like rehash some of that stuff? Yeah. It's kind of unfortunate. Dark Nerdy Gonzo, I love Dark Empire, but man, oh man, Jar Jar he was messed it all up and articulated in the Patrick Rush job of episode 9. It makes me a little bit disappointed when I read that script that was leaked by oh gosh, what's his name? Oh, I'm blanking on his name right now. The guy that did Jurassic World. Oh, Colin Trevorrow's script was really cool. Like, I would have loved to see that thing represented. I don't even know how they were able to leak all that information out, but it ended up out there somehow, and it was fascinating. It was so cool, and it was epic. They got a Coruscant. There was Plagueis that was alive the whole time, apparently. Like, such really awesome tiebacks to the prequels. And it seems like, man, like, I know a lot of people out there would love to get the J.J. Abrams cut, like what happened with Justice League recently. They're going to do the Snyder cut. There's people out there like, I want the J.J. Abrams cut of this movie, you know? Because there was stuff cut out from, like, Mustafar. You could see Vader's castle and stuff. Dark Nerdy Gonzo read the Duel. Yeah, see, he's talking about. Read the Duel of the Fates script, and even though it was the first draft, felt more like a proper Star Wars flick direction I wanted to take. It felt more natural than Rise of Skywalker. Wait, Rise of Off Skywalker. Oh, hey, what's up? Dan's on fandom. Sorry, man, I'm just catching up to the chat because I had to read some YouTube questions. What story would you want to hear about during the gap between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens? So I did actually answer this question a little bit ago, or I don't even know if it was a question, but it might have just been a thought that I was thinking of at the moment. Need to know more about Thrawn. Need to know more about Rey Sloane. Need to know more about Ezra. Want to know more about it. Hey, give me a story about Iden Versio. Give me a story about her and Del Meeko and Shriv going around the galaxy smuggling or whatever they do, because they do leave the New Republic. Give me a story about Ahsoka. What I would really want, though, is a new Jedi Order with Luke Skywalker. We got a little bit of that, a little tease of that with the Rise of Kylo Ren comic miniseries, which was fantastic. It's a 4-issue miniseries. you guys can get the single issues out now. I think they're going to come out with the trade paperback very soon. But that showed Luke Skywalker's academy. He had like a dozen students or whatever. I want to see a story about that, about Ben and his adventures, because we do know that Ben and Luke go on an adventure with the one character from The Force Awakens. Man, the longer this stream goes on, the worse my memory gets, apparently, because Lawrence Santeca, Ben Solo, Luke Skywalker, they go on a search for Jedi artifacts. I would love it. I would love an adventure like that, like an adventure series. Every week they go try to find some other thing, and they find some dark side users or some Sith artifacts. That would be so fascinating for me. Dark Nerdy Gonzo, you are correct, Star Raptor on Legacy. Looks like even George Lucas was going to mine it in his original idea of the sequel trilogy. Well, George Lucas's original idea of the trilogy was something like using like microscopic entrances into the lifeblood of the Force. It was like some crazy idea, like, oh man, I don't know how people would like this idea. It might be like the prequels all over again. He's going like to the microscopic minuscule versions of the midichlorians or something, like inside people's like microscopic bodies. Like, it was freaking crazy. Let's see, Joel Davis, I think the best bet is to have a major war happen in the unknown regions, since it seems the New Republic and known galaxy never had a major war until the FO showed up, at least according to Bloodline. Yeah, see, that's the thing. It's like if a creator comes out with a good enough idea, they could actually do away with that. Maybe Thrawn has his own mini empire that's better organized by Gideon and a Cold War insurgency happens in that territory, and he never got to strike or merge to FO by the end. Oh man, that would be really juicy content. If you have a war between, you're saying you want to have a war between Thrawn and Moff Gideon. Oh, that's so good, because we know that there's a lot of infighting between the Empire. That's really cool. Dark Dirty Gonzo. With the current state of canon now, I agree with Joel Davis on the Unknown Regions War. Brian's Third Pub. Hey, what's going on, man? Hey, I have a question. Name the top 3 people in Star Wars that you would not engage in a lightsaber duel. Oh, that is such an original question. Like, who would I not want to go near with a lightsaber? Probably Darth Maul, because he would just wreck my butt. Ah, oh, man. So I gotta think. Not engage. So it's not just dark side users, but still, like Darth Maul. I don't know how I would defend against a double-bladed lightsaber, especially with somebody as acrobatic as Maul. So that would be a little bit difficult. Let's see. Somebody else that has very interesting skill. Mace Windu. I think Mace Windu is still one of the best lightsaber duelists. I mean, he took out Sidious, although Sidious wasn't known to be exceptionally good. So it'd be Mace Windu, it'd be Darth Maul, and I probably would do. Who else is a really good duelist? That's a tough question. Let's go with. I'm really stumped, man. I'm really stumped. You guys sound off in the comment section below. Who would you not want to fight against in a top 3 duel? Top 3 people you would want to fight against. That's a tough one. I'm thinking way too hard about this question right now, which is fine. I like to rack my brain, especially when it comes to Star Wars. That's always fun. Yoda. Let's just say Yoda, because he's so small that it'd be hard to hit him, right? It'd be hard to target somebody flipping and everything. Nerdy Guns, a Duel of Fates should have been made instead of everything that happened in Rise of Skywalker. There are some elements from Rise of Skywalker I wouldn't want to have leave. Like the whole thing with Leia and her son, Ben Solo, calling to him in Force. I think that is so good. I think that's a perfect way for him to come back. Don't take that out. The adventuring between Rey and with the rest of the crew, I thought that was great chemistry. Let's see. Joel Davis, I honestly really disliked the Duel of Fate script. I have a lot of issues with the characterizations and Colin's theory of balance of the Force, which sort of goes against Lucas's. I'd get into more of it, but I'd have to go on a full-blown podcast just to talk about it. Yeah, that'd be interesting. Yeah, we might have to put a pin in that one for another day. All right. Let's see. Damsel in Fandom, love that series. Yeah, great, great, great series. Joel Davis from what series is he talking about? Oh, I think he's talking about the Legacy series. Okay, trying to catch up, guys. You guys are making this very hard for me to catch up, but I love it. Um, Dark Out, guys. I know the feeling, but it was a first draft, so I wanted Luke haunting Kylo badly. The Chewbacca riding the X-wing was a bit weird off. I don't know about the Chewbacca riding the X-wing, but I was disappointed by the whole thing with Luke not hunting Kylo. Like, there wasn't enough Luke, I don't think. When Luke showed up, it was great, but it would have liked to see a little bit more. Joel Davis, you guys are having this awesome back and forth. I love it between you and Dark Nerdy Gonzo. Fair, since never read the later drafts, so I can't really judge. Granted, from what I heard, those weren't even good either. So it kind of feels like a lose-lose situation here. Would have took that to the artistic hack job checklist of picture of Skywalker. Because I'm the opposite. We can agree to disagree. For me, what a fight against Sidious, Vader, and Yoda. See, I feel like Vader in a one-on-one duel is not the greatest. Wow, that's a dumb thing. I mean, if you read the Star Wars Darth Vader series, he went against a lot of people and defeated him one-on-one. I mean, there's a reason why he lived 20 years later through killing all those Jedi. But granted, Darth Vader is not as whole as he should be. I mean, he's missing all of his limbs actually. So he's not 100% potential that he could have been. I wouldn't put it this way. I would not want to fight Darth Vader pre getting burned alive. Like, no, he would just destroy everything. That's why he was a chosen one. He was basically invincible. Sidious, I feel like I could take Sidious because, I mean, he's not. Well, no, let me take that back. See, the Clone Wars always makes the prequels enhanced in a sense, and he stood up against Darth Maul and Savage Opress at the same time, dual wielding lightsabers. So, you got me on that one. And yeah, Yoda, I agree with you. Yoda would be tough as hell. Dan's a fandom saying, that's what I'm saying. He's so acrobatic and fast. Nerdy Gonzo at least tried to hone in on a new Star Wars adventure. Hell, the Rise of Skywalker prequel book, Resistance Riders felt like it was setting up Duel of the Fates more. So then the Rise of Skywalker itself. QAT's shipyards rebuilding Resistance. Oh, yeah. So that was a big thing, right? Because the whole thing with the Rise of the Resistance. Oh, that book was so good. Oh, wait. Was he talking about Resistance Reborn? Oh yeah, yeah. The prequel book for Resistance Reborn was so good. Like the whole thing with Wedge and Snap Wexley and Black Squadron. You don't even know where Black Squadron is right now. You don't even know where Jeff Pavitt is, which sucks. Like that, I really like that character. A lot of things just felt like they were left on the cutting room floor. So it seems like there was like a big rewrite. Like, and she was already probably done with the book, so it was like, well, we just gotta put this out. And oh yeah, that ship that they rescued from Corellia, that wasn't even the Tana V4. Like, and a lot of weird things like that. Let's see. Okay, Joel Davis. I'll say I feel like a weirder mixture of Rise of Skywalker and Duel Fates ideas and concepts would have made probably the best movie. Yeah, for sure. At least for me. Like, I'd keep the Kylo Ray stuff in there. Palpatine Rise, all the references, and Rosefin stuff on Coruscant from Duel of the Fates. That was a big thing. Like, I want to know what happened to Coruscant. Like, that's a huge flashpoint in Star Wars, and we don't really have anything about that now. It's a little bit unfortunate that in sequel trilogy they just left Coruscant in the dust. Ooh, I have 8 of you watching right now. Thanks for everybody that's tuned in. This is far exceeded my expectations. I didn't think I'd be talking for an hour and a half straight without stopping. This is something new, and well, maybe I'll do more of these sometimes. More regular. The idea is I'm doing these like milestone ones, so you know they're few and far between. But the fact is that they're special, so that when I do come out, more of you guys will come in here and talk to me, and there'll be more stuff to talk about if it's been more of an extended amount of time in between the last one. Getting back to the chat. Getting back to the chat. Let's see. Okay, so Nerdy Gonzo Contravevo at least tried to follow up organically in a progressive way from The Last Jedi, then Let's Play Pretend Recon. Oh man, don't hold anything back, man. Don't hold anything back. Yeah, that's the thing. Well, there was a lot of connections though, because like the stuff with the Force Skype and all that was brought in and actually enhanced now with having objects pass between. I thought that was a pretty cool continuity. Brian Surpub, have you ever played the Super Nintendo Super Star Wars games? I recently played Super Empire Strikes Back and it was frustrating. Dude, I could do like a whole discussion on those games. They were some of the earliest memories I have. Okay, so Super Nintendo wasn't the first system I had. I technically had an Atari 2600, but the majority of my gaming in the early days was done on a Super Nintendo. And damn, yes, I still have Super Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. I don't think I've ever beat any of them. They were, you go back into the heyday of those 16-bit classic games, and they are damn near impossible, or 32-bit, whatever they were. They were damn near impossible. It was like you died, you had to start over the entire game unless you had like a cheat code to go back to a certain level. But it was pretty much like you had to beat the game in one sitting, or just I guess leave your system on forever and just come back to it later on. They were just painstakingly hard, but I remember in the first Star Wars, Super Star Wars game, it was like you'd be running across in the first level, you fought a Sarlacc pit that just popped out of the ground, and then you also had the like the Jarek characters come alive full size in Mos Eisley Cantina. But then you also had these levels where it wasn't side scrolling, but you'd be on a land speeder and you'd have to go around. Like the soundtrack was amazing. To hear it in that format for the Nintendo was so fun. The Empire Strikes Back, I think that's the one I did the worst on actually, because like I got to Bespin and I got to the level where I think you could play as Chewbacca and you're trying to find C-3PO and you're going through all the Ugnaughts and you're going through like the carbon freezing chambers and all that. That was tough. And Return of the Jedi, I remember I got to the end of that one a couple times. I'm not sure if I ever beat the game, but I remember you had to fight the Emperor and Vader at the same time in the throne room of the Death Star, and it was just a nightmare. It was nerve-wracking, and I still carry over my habits of losing at games, which is I don't deal with them very well. I might seem mild-mannered and I might seem relatively calm, but if you catch me ever playing a game where I get pissed, I've done it a few times recently with Gears Tactics, you might see a different person come out of me. That's what happened a few times playing Super Star Wars, even when I was like 5 or 6. Alright, Dan's on fandoms. Yeah, I could have done without Ray Palpatine as well, Joel Davis. Oh, I can get a whole discussion going for that. I can get a whole discussion. That is such a hot topic in fandom. I would actually hear Dark Nerdy Gonzo on that. What he thinks of that. Oh my gosh, there's so many comments. I love it. Real quick about Ray Palpatine. I think it works. I think like my whole problem was how Palpatine wasn't explained to survive. It was kind of dumb that we had to learn that in a novelization. They could have explained it. I like the idea that Star Wars, the Skywalker saga, dealt with the lineage of the Palpatines and the Skywalkers, although it didn't seem like it was ever about the Palpatines until the last movie, which could be arguable. I can give you guys that. But it was still kind of cool to see it die out of the Force. Things come to an epic conclusion, and I liked the concept of even if you're born by blood of something, you could still go against that. You could still actually turn away from that heritage and make your own way of life. I think that was a really strong, powerful message. And that's one way to bring Palpatine into the fold. And now we're going to have awesome stories leading up to Rise of Skywalker with more Palpatine. Alright, let's see. Joel Davis. True, but reading a script, it feels very cynical. He's in reference to Duel of Fates. I have issues with Kylo's end. His redemption feels hollow, if non-existent, and I don't like the way he writes Rey. Let's see. Dark Nerdy Gonzo did love Kylo entrance in Rise of Skywalker storming Exegol, but the rest sign. Let's see. Dan's on fandoms. I love the scene with Han and Ben. Heartbreak, I know, man. That was the part where I started crying. I was like, dude, no, you can't do this to me. I already had to cry when I seen Han Solo get killed by his son one time. I can't do this crap again. You know, oh man, the feels. Joel Davis. Oh, that Han Ben moment in Rise is great. Didn't like that Han Ben moment in Duel of Fates again. Too dark and cynical. Dark Nerdy Gonzo could have lived without Han, really. In Rise of Skywalker, I thought it was a nice connection. Joel Davis, I always took it as figuratively, sort of like Rey and Palpatine at that time were now avatars of their factions. Interesting, yeah. Oh, Studio General Lofi, she's a fellow coworker of mine. How's it going? I hope all is well with you over there. Joel Davis, for me, Star Raptor, if Rey had to be someone, I think Palpatine is the best worst option, and at least the most interesting of the worst options. I mean, what would you say if she was a Kenobi, right? Like, it's like, wait, we have to explain this whole thing. Like, Kenobi had a relation with somebody, and was it her name, the Cries, whatever her name was from Clone Wars? They have a secret relation, and that baby, I don't know, but some you could connect it with that. It would have been crazy. Let's see. Dark Nerdy Godzo, Force Awakens. Sin was a New Hope rehash. The Last Jedi just felt an extended epilogue to Force Awakens with potholes and Rise of Skywalker Eve's corporate job. Force Awakens. I think I could say that The Force Awakens is probably one of my favorite Star Wars movies that I could just pop in and just watch from start to finish and be totally engrossed in. It's the most accessible Star Wars movie, I think, because it's got some of the. I think it might have The Force Awakens might have the best pacing of any Star Wars movie. The way that story goes is just so quick, so to the punch. You're going along. You're getting introduced to characters left and right, but then you're also getting reintroduced to characters that you know and love, like Chewie and Han and Leia, and it leaves off on like one of the best cliffhangers in Star Wars. But I could totally see what you mean there, Dark Dirty Gonzo, about like, oh yeah, the epilogue could be like all of Last Jedi. Yeah, it didn't feel. I mean, it was grand in scope. There's no denying it wasn't grand in scope. But yeah, I mean, I can kind of understand that logic. Let's see, Bright Nerds Pub. I have to head out. Enjoyed the stream. Congrats on the 1K subs again. Oh, thanks so much, man, for joining in. It was always fun talking to you whenever I'm on the stream with Geek Addict. It's always fun. Joel Davis, I've always been okay with how they handled Palpatine. I don't think they needed to explain it. They just said dark side pathway, many abilities, some unnatural. I think that was enough, at least for me. At least they used that line, right? I mean, it was a nice line that they threw in there. Again, you know, you could see through the exposition to get right through there. Studio General Laffy, hey man, what's up? How are you? I'm doing good. You know, I'm still working, so it's going. Got a 3-day weekend coming up, so excited for that at least. That's gonna be interesting, even though there's not gonna be a whole lot to do, unfortunately, with everything going on. Dark Dirty Gonzo at Joel Davis. Let's see. We'll say taking it figuratively is the best way to interpret that moment. I do on that note. Yep. Joel Davis. Plus, if she was a Kenobi, there is no real drama for Rey. Rey would be like, I'm a Kenobi. Cool. No drama. No story. Yeah, there would be no big evil villain. It'd be like, oh, okay, cool. Joel Davis. Funny, I think of the two Abrams films, I like Cheers more. Maybe because I'm a Palpatine fanboy, plus I like endings. I'm weird. Granted, Episode 6 is my favorite Star Wars movie of all time. Yeah, same here. I love Episode 6. Return of the Jedi is a far overlooked movie, I think. I just love the fact that we deal with the seedy underworld. It's one of my favorite aspects of Star Wars. Dealing with Jabba the Hutt. Dealing with a little bit of Boba Fett. What's going on there. And then we're dealing with the rebellion. We're having one of the best space battles of all time in the Battle of Endor, having so much stuff going on. You got a duel, you got the battle in space, then you have the battle on the ground, boots on the ground on Endor. Then you have the Ewoks, which are one of the coolest things about Star Wars. Yeah, I said it. I love them. They're great. Kind of little creatures that deal death. I love them. So that is that's my thoughts on that. I really do enjoy Return of the Jedi. It's it's a movie that it was almost like, oh my gosh, like Emperor, like the Emperor. This is the first time we're seeing him, and Vader destroyed the Emperor. He's the savior, and then he comes back in Episode 9. You're like, oh crap! Did they just undo like all that storytelling that was put in place? Like, oh yeah, the ultimate evil. He didn't actually die, and then it's actually Vader that didn't really get redeemed entirely because Palpatine still ended up surviving him somehow. So it's a whole other wormhole to explore. Dark Nerdy Gonzo, the pros to Force Awakens was Kylo and Han's arc, and Finn's arc was solid. The shame they didn't follow that aspect more, which was another plus in the dark side of the... Yeah, that was another negative in my eyes about The Rise of Skywalker, was that Finn kept saying, and it felt like, I mean, I don't know, I felt like I was thrown off a little bit when Finn was like, hey, I got something to tell you. I got something to tell you. And for whatever reason, in my head, I was like, oh, he's going to tell her that she's the spawn of Palpatine. I'm thinking, like, after the fact, like, why would he even know that information? But that's what I mean. Like, it was so misguided. Like, I didn't know that he was trying to imply the first time watching the movie that he was Force sensitive. And he never actually tells her that. In novelization or nothing else, he never told her that. But I think it would have been a nice little epilogue to just have a little bit of a conversation with Finn about what's next. And that's what I wanted to know about the Clone Wars. Like, they don't tell us what's next unless it's Star Wars Rebels, and they still leave it open-ended because they're like, oh, they're still out there. You got Thrawn and you got Ezra. Joel Davis, Finn Rose and Poe's arc are better in Duel of Fates True. Kylo and Rey's, not so much. Again, I feel a mix of the two is like the best bet. And already Godzilla replying to Joel Davis, Return of the Jedi is my all-time favorite. And I am a dire fanboy for Sidious. He was a guilty pleasure in 9, but deserved to be handled better. What? You think Palpatine deserved to be handled better? I would like to hear that. I would like to hear you explain how the good old Sheev could be dealt a better hand in The Rise of Skywalker. I mean, the guy was owning it, man. He destroyed the Tantive 4. He had lightning coming out of his hands that were destroying an entire fleet while somehow managing not to hit his own ships. I mean, it doesn't get more Sith power than that. I mean, I don't know how he could do much of a better job. Although he was still dumb enough to, like, use Force Lightning and get himself killed. Like, he didn't figure it out the first time. Hey, Bet on Adventures joins the chat. He's saying, hey, man, congrats on 1K. Hey, thank you so much. I hope you're doing well over there. Viewers. That right one. Oh, this is cool. Yeah, so I mean, yeah, he could have been. I want to hear what he has to say about this, about what could be better with Palpatine, because Palpatine is definitely. He was a person I didn't think had to be in Rise of Skywalker, but I enjoyed his presence. I think, especially with the actor, Ian. What is it? What is his name again? See, I'm forgetting names again. Oh gosh, it's getting late. That's probably why. It's getting late. Yeah, but anyway, next up, we don't have a whole lot coming out on the horizon. I mean, the comics industry is kind of at a standstill. I did get one comic new this week, and that was Star Wars Adventures, the Clone Wars Battle Tales #1. That was a lot of fun. First issue of like a 5-part miniseries about, you guessed it, the Clone Wars. So I had Rex and Commander Cody and Commander Wolf and Plo Koon and Obi-Wan and Anakin all fighting prior to the events of the Battle of Christophsis. So that was a lot of fun. I enjoyed that one quite a bit. Um, but other than that, I'm currently working my way through Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 6. I'll be hopefully getting through... Oh, okay. Assassin's Creed Origins. Okay, Dark Fury. Got to the Last Jedi twist with Killer Silk was a high point. And Luke's whole arc was banging, but that plot holes with Admiral Purple and Finn's arc was such a total backtrack from his progression in The Force Awakens. Well, I don't know if that's really a backtrack, though, really. I mean, because think about it, like, the whole arc with Finn in The Force Awakens was him finding out that he has to desert the First Order, right? And he leaves to join the Resistance, but he was always hesitant of joining the Resistance because at one point he was going to join Crimson Corsair's crew. Then he goes back, and he ends up joining the Resistance, but he feels like he needs to be with Rey or whatever. So he's a little bit shaky on that, and then he goes back. So like, by the end of The Last Jedi, he is firmly set in his belief to stay with the Resistance, and his whole resolve was tested by DJ. And if he never went to the planet of Canto Bay, he would have never met DJ, which would have never gave him that lesson of what the galaxy is all about. So I think it really, really meant... yeah, you could say what you will about Rose. I think she definitely deserved more in Rise of Skywalker. They didn't really give her a whole lot to do. Ben on Adventures, you see Star Wars series new video? A theory is Palps manipulates Rey by hearing Rise as Kylo had the voices in his head in the beginning. Could Rey have all the Sith in her dormant? Crazy but fun theory. Ben on Adventures, though, I haven't heard of that one before. Hearing Rise. That's well, the piece of it that's a little bit muddy. That's a really interesting theory. The piece of it that's really muddy for me is that Palpatine says, if you strike me down, all the Sith that live in me will live in you or something, or I will live in your body, because that's what he's trying to do. Basically, the whole long story short is Palpatine survived because when he was thrown down the shaft by Vader, he was practicing his ability to transfer bodies. And basically, he transferred his body through space into this exegol, into a clone body of himself. Problem is, his spirit is so evil and dark and full of energy that these bodies cannot harness his spirit for very long, so he has to keep transferring his spirit to other bodies, clone bodies and whatnot. And that's his idea, is Rey is an offspring of his son, who was, I think, experimented to create his son. Her body would be suitable for him to live in forever. So he's telling her to strike her down so her spirit, or his spirit, along with the rest of the Sith that he absorbed somehow, will go into her spirit and he'll keep living on forever. So I guess that literally means if she strikes him with her saber, like purposefully, that will do what that needs to be done. However, she uses as a Jedi knowledge and defense, which I really like this. Like a Jedi's knowledge and defense uses her lightsabers to deflect his evil energy that ends up killing himself. So I guess that basically means, like, okay, that is how he dies, and it doesn't affect her. But then you see like a big shockwave coming out of him, so maybe his spirit goes to somebody else. I don't really know. That could be interesting to see what the next stories are going to be. This is supposed to be the end of the Skywalker saga. I would like it to be the end of the Skywalker saga, and that would be it. Maybe just call it something else, although you can technically say that the saga continues now that Rey is a Skywalker, even though she's not blood related. Joel Davis, if you're looking for more TV to watch, suggest Avatar: The Last Bender on Netflix if you haven't watched it, and my own personal is She-Ra, Princess of Power, both very Star Warsy. Oh, interesting. Yeah, I do not know about the She-Ra. I've seen a lot of that at New York Comic Con. They were promoting that. As far as, let's see, Avatar: Last Airbender, I know a lot of people on Facebook are talking about that one. I think Dave Filoni had a hand in that, right? I think that's where George Lucas tapped him to start doing Clone Wars. Dark Dirty Gonzo, I don't know, it felt Finn at the end in Force Awakens felt like he was joining up with the Resistance / Rey, so him in the beginning of The Last Jedi felt like a regression. I do agree and love DJC. Yeah, you got a point there. It's hard. It's hard to really solidify ideas on how that works. Ben on Adventures. Here's the theory. Pop says to Ben, he's all the voices he's ever heard. Could Rey, hearing all the Jedi voices, be a Palp's manipulation and a Sith be dormant in her for future films? I really like the idea of Rey going to the dark side. I was hoping that would work in this. We've seen a glimpse of it in a vision, so it's not something like it can't happen. But yeah, that'd be really interesting. I don't know if, from a standpoint of Disney, if they would let like their poster child for Star Wars turn to the dark side, because like what would that do to like all the kids that grew up with Rey? Like, oh my gosh, like this is our person that has gone to the dark side. Although all those kids that would have seen the Force Awakens, it might be 10 years from now, so they're mature and everything. They can deal with that. And then they would have new, younger characters for the new generation to see. Yeah, so it probably won't be 10 years. Don't joining. Yeah, he's talking about let's see, Joel Davis. I always got the idea that if Rey strikes him down in anger, then that opens Rey up to the token control of the dark side with her to merge it. Yeah. Episode 10 is the new saga. Well, I don't know. If it's going to be a new saga, just call it episode 1 of something else. Like, that's my idea. Like, it's going to get too money again. It's going to be like, oh, we're going to just keep buying away to make it episode 10. And you know they're going to probably have to do that because what else will make more money for a Star Wars movie than if they say, oh, this is actually episode 10. It's like, oh, this connects to episode 9. But then there's a really cool thing about having an original title with new characters that stands on its own so that there's no prior reservations of what could possibly happen in the stories when you have these new characters, and it's so exciting because you're like, hey, yeah, we got these new characters. It's going to be great. We don't have anything that we have to worry about because we have no expectations of these characters. All right, so Ben on Adventures. I've been watching Another Life on Netflix with Katie Sackhoff, Bo-Katan from Clone Wars. That's funny. I've never actually heard of any other shows besides what is it? Battlestar Galactica. Everybody says she's that one character Starbuck or something. I've not watched it yet, and I've had that on my list since college, and I wanted to watch that because it's been on Netflix since then. But haven't really gotten a chance to it. But I'm interested to see if she comes in the Mandalorian for sure. She looks quite a bit like her. It felt like a disjarring disconnect. Okay, that's what Dark Nerdy Gonzo is saying. All right. Joel's also saying, I don't know. I feel like Finn was more about Rey than any wider cause, to be honest. By the end of Force Awakens. Yeah, that's what I felt like, because he goes up to her and he's like trying to see if she's okay, you know, when she's no, that's her. She's going up to him seeing if she's okay. But yeah, he was more tied to her. I kind of agree. And just to let you know, guys, though, I'm going to be wrapping up the stream in the next 5 minutes. I somehow was able to talk for 2 hours. We'll see if I have a voice tomorrow. We'll see if that happens. I have to drink plenty of water when I get off of here, because, man, I don't think I've ever talked this long continuously on a stream. This is crazy. I don't know. Let's see. Joel Davis, I have a pitch that I'd love to see for a future Star Wars trilogy. First story, have a light side character and a dark side character, and by the end of the first film, switch them. Yeah, that's what I thought like might happen with Kylo Ren and Rey. But yeah, see, that's now that I'm thinking about it. Oh no, the Geeks Addict is joining and I'm gonna be off in like 5 minutes. I have a 2-hour limit. Oh no. I'm so happy GeekSack is here, but it's like, no, dude, I'm gonna be getting offline soon. Oh man, I know you're an hour behind me too, so it's a little different on the time zones there. Um, Real quick, a coffee or tea? Neither. I don't drink either of them. I know I'm crazy. I'm probably gonna need a cup of tea after this one though. With my voice is gonna, I can start to feel my voice is gonna go hoarse with all this talking. Takes a certain person to do that. Oh, I'm getting sidetracked. It's all right. Yeah, no. I like the idea that Kylo Ren was gonna be the ultimate evil going into the Rise of Skywalker, and then that was throwing a wrench into there when Palpatine shows up, and then Palpatine takes it. But I do like that Kylo still remained relatively evil for the most part of the movie. So, oh, I just got home. Nice. But yeah, I think that would be cool if we do see that switch, like a total switch, the next time. Like we got really close this time to doing it. Let's actually commit. If we're gonna do a new saga, good guy goes bad, bad guy goes good, that sort of thing. Dark Dirty Gonzo. Now to get to Palpatine and Rise of Skywalker. Oh, we finally get this revelation. It just felt cheap. There should have been some foreshadowing in 7 and 8, but it was sweet about him being every voice inside Kylo's head. Yeah, I do get that. That was interesting. I like what they did with Snoke about you get an understanding why Snoke was saying the same sorts of things that Palpatine was saying, because Palpatine engineered Snoke to be a clone. And his whole mission was to train Kylo to get to the point where we see him in Rise of Skywalker to be the supreme leader of the First Order. Let's see. Been on adventures. Time to put the pressure on you, buddy. Rank the Star Wars movies and TV series and go. Oh, man. He hit me with that question. Whew. I'm in a hot seat now. Oh, man. Good thing I have a Word document up, because I kind of have to list these on a Word document, because I'll forget what the hell I'm going to say. I'll say Return of the Jedi, ROTJ. I'll say Empire Strikes Back. I'll say Force Awakens. I'm going to say Revenge of the Sith. Then I'll say A New Hope. Now there's 10 movies I have to worry about. Actually, no, I'm gonna scratch. I'm already messing up my order. No, ESB, then I'm gonna say Rogue One. Then Force Awakens, then Revenge of the Sith. Then A New Hope. Then I don't know. TPM, Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones. I'll say TLJ, and then I have to get Solo in there. Rise of Skywalker as my least favorite. I gotta fit Solo in there somewhere. I'll say I put Solo after A New Hope. Alright, so my ranking, and I think I have my official ranking as of right now, this could always change, is Rogue One, Empire Strikes Back. Oh, wait. Return of the Jedi, Empire Strikes Back, Rogue One, The Force Awakens, Revenge of the Sith, A New Hope, Solo, The Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, Last Jedi, Rise of Skywalker. Series is going to be Clone Wars #1, Rebels. Oh, wait, no. Mandalorian. See, that's so much new stuff. Mando, Clone Wars, Rebels, Resistance. Whew! Did it. That was actually a lot quicker than I thought it would take. Alright, Joel Davis. Oh no. I've officially gone over 2 hours talking about Star Wars. This is crazy. Well, actually, not just Star Wars. There was a question or two that was not Star Wars related. I do hope just one day from Joel Davis that we can get a redeemed Darksider who doesn't die and gets to live and spend time with the heroes at least. Yeah. You know what? That's what really ticked me off with Kylo Ren is I wanted to see him not die. Like we got the same story with Darth Vader essentially. Like Darth Vader throws the Emperor down, gets redeemed for 5 minutes and dies. We see Ben Solo like fighting people with Rey, and it was so cool. And we could have seen him go into exile or something, like many people have said before on various podcasts. And I would have loved to see that, but nope, didn't happen. Geek Sack, there are many rumors about casting for The Mandalorian season 2. Do you believe any of these rumors? Well, I gotta have to believe them. I mean, the track record of these sources that are putting them out from the Hollywood Reporter and from places that are backing that up, like Variety and Deadline and Slash Film and all those guys that have been like 90% right on everything they post. It would seem likely. It would seem very likely Ahsoka's going to pop up. I mean, if it's not Ahsoka, it's got to be Luke Skywalker because they got to deliver Baby Yoda to somebody that is a Force user. And at that time, we only know that there's two really prominent Force users in Ahsoka and Luke Skywalker. So if Ahsoka's there, probably Captain Rex will show up. If Captain Rex is there, probably Sabine will be there. As for Boba Fett's very likely because I thought he would have showed up at the end of season 1, to be quite honest with you. At the end of episode 5, we hear the spur sound and this mysterious figure walking up to none other than Fennec Shand on Tatooine. So probably that was the tease of him there. And the latest rumor, if you have a Boba Fett, we do know because of the Aftermath trilogy of books that Boba Fett doesn't have his armor anymore because this lawman of Tatooine named Cobb Vanth has that armor. So it would be really cool if we got this Boba Fett standoff with this guy with his armor, and then you have Mandalorian coming in saying, "Hey, Boba Fett, you're not even a Mandalorian," and there's like this whole big conflict because then Boba Fett can show Mandalorian like the different tips and tricks of being a bounty hunter because we see that Mandalorian has used the tactics that Boba Fett used with the carbon freezing chamber with all of his bounties. Like apparently that's like the new thing now. So I think they're all gonna happen. Whether or not I'm a fan of it, I hope I am. Let's see. Dark Nerdy Gonzo also wouldn't have made sense that he would have been in a younger clone by just his old self. It would have made more sense he would have reverted to a younger, rejuvenated body after he absorbed both Kylo and Rey energy. Yeah, I guess that would make sense, but I guess like it has to do with like the most powerful he's ever been. And I guess he's like the most powerful after he has been deformed by Mace Windu somehow. Yeah, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Joel Davis, I honestly felt that he didn't return to a younger form. I think Palpatine is proud of his decrepit form. It's his true self. Plus, audiences want to see old moldy sheep. At least I did. And Dark Armaganza and the lighting reflected back to him to kill him felt sheep. To destroy him. Solid film, Warner. Thank you. That's from Geeksack Ben on Adventures. But you forgot the Ewok movie and holiday special. Ah, damn. Well, we're going by canon at least. Quick note, I used to love those Endor movies. I used to rush them as a kid because I didn't have them on video or anything, but I would somehow find out that they were on. And yeah, I would love watching those. And it was I remember going like to Columbus. Me and Dark Gonzo were talking at the beginning of the stream. Columbus flea market, and I would come home from the Columbus and be like, I gotta watch Ewoks. It was weird memory that came up. Ben on Adventures, Dan, good list and good job under pressure. Thank you. Dark Nerdy Gonzo. Also, they could have defined what was going on with the logistics of how Rey could be his granddaughter, then wait for the book. To play mess fixing. Yeah, it's weird how that happened. Been on Adventures, Geek Sack. Me and Chris have been geeking out these casting messages back and forth. Yeah. Cobb Vanth, let's go. Yeah, man. It's definitely interesting to see what's happening with Cobb Vanth because we're getting Cobb Vanth, which is our big connection with with Star Wars canon, right? Like, these are a big connection to. They're actually taking a side character that's so small that was only in interludes in an aftermath trilogy. And I'm like, that's like crazy to me. Like up until this point, like people kind of gave up hope that there was any kind of connection ever happening with these characters in the books. It's like, there's no real reward to reading these things because these things are not going to be in the same universe because they seem like they're almost separate. But here we go. This is going to be big. And that's what The Mandalorian is so good about doing. Like, they're taking things in from, like, Darksaber and stuff like that. Like, this is what happens when we have patience. Geeks Attic at Ben Adventures. Some of them seem cool, but there are so many names we drop, I just don't know if I believe it. The Ben Adventures, I think main ones I believe are Ahsoka, Fett, Bo-Katan, Vanth, Nerdy Gonzo of what he calls in the galaxy, to Palpatine. The Geeks Attic, I'm going to be stubborn. Hold to my original theory that the Duster and Boots that show up in the desert are Cad Bane. I would really love that to be Cad Bane, though. Like, as much as I want to see Boba Fett, like, that's such a deep cut if a Duros walks up. And it just surprises everybody on the internet. And Geeks Act will be sitting there like, yeah, I called that like a year ago. You guys weren't believing me, but I called it a year ago. And the cool thing about The Mandalorian is they've casted like a couple actors that were like people that are gruff, tough, like middle-aged actors that acted in like a lot of action movies. So like any of them could easily play somebody like Cad Bane. They have like the persona of these actors. Let's see. Dark Nerdy Gonzo. Oh crap! This is ending. I gotta tell the NYCC story still. When are you gonna do another live stream? Hasbro Sims must come to light. Yeah, that is true, guys. I've actually exceeded expectations here, and I'm going on a lot longer than I expected it to. But yeah. See, Ben on Adventures, Geeks Addict. If it's Cad Bane, I will freak. Well, give me the story really quick in here, because I don't know the next time I'm doing a live stream like this. So. We need to get a good Cad Bane action figure. That's what we need. A good Black Series Cad Bane figure. Rob Paul, it's late here. I need to get to bed. So do I. But I wanted to say congratulations on 1,000 subscribers. You are awesome, man. Thanks for joining, and I really do appreciate that. Hopefully, I'll talk to you soon. Stay safe. Yeah. That would be really interesting. That would be really interesting, and I'm waiting on bated breath here with Dark Nerdy Gonzo on what the heck he's referring to when he's saying he's got this crazy story about what he was gonna say in front of the panel and what happened. I hope he's typing this because I don't know the next time I'm gonna get the answer to this age-old question. So we have to hang on for another minute or two until he's finished typing this thing. And I'm now out of water, so I really can't go much longer. Oh, jeez. But, let's see. Yeah, this week was a really busy week for me here on YouTube. I somehow managed to put out a video per day of the week, so you guys could go ahead and check out... Ooh, you could check out my review of Gears Tactics. I had a review of the comics that came out this week. I have my video of Outer Rim Transmission with Dominic Jones and Clone Wars. You're seeing this now, the live stream. I put something out on a Tuesday, and I can't remember what it was. Rob Paul, thanks YouTube. May the Force be with you. Same as well, man. Same as well. I want Black Series Indiana Jones figures. Oh, that would be really cool. By the way, what the heck is going on with Disney Plus and not having Indiana Jones stuff on there? Is it because Paramount, I guess? Because I would really like to watch those in high definition because I haven't ever done it. Because I only have them on DVD right now. Yes, I even have the Crystal Skull, which a lot of people not really like. Oh man, he's dropping that. Geeks Attic is exposing me right now. Yes, for all of you, I am reading Free Fall, the Poe Dameron novel. I was reading it right before I started the stream. I'll definitely have it out next week. Can't promise a day because I'm not done the book yet, and I'm not going to be at my computer for 2 days over the weekend with the holiday coming up in the United States. So definitely next week. I'll have a spoiler-free review, of course, because I'm not going to talk spoilers if the book is not out until August. So yeah, definitely got that coming out. So you can look forward to that. Okay, Dark Nerdy Gods. Okay, long story short, they took everyone's questions except mine. And when they did the panel, they talked to some fans outside the hall where I quickly asked them, I have Indie on VHS. Oh, see, at least I have it on DVD. I mean, man, VHS, like, I do have a VCR right now, but I'd be afraid of putting those in there. I might, like, ruin the tape. Dragon Slayer 1981 that I always talk about on my channel. It's a Disney Paramount film, not on Disney Plus, sadly. Well, I'm looking forward to getting HBO Max because that's gonna have a lot of different movies on there and all, so that'll be fun. Let's see. Oh man, we got Chris Forsyth here, man. Oh, see, you guys between you and Geek Static are coming in, ruining everything by making me stay like another couple of minutes. No, you guys are cool. You guys are cool. Thanks for showing up at the very least. I was actually about to log off, man. Apparently I can't log off ever off this thing because everybody keeps jumping in, but it's all right. It's all right. It's better than staying on here for 5 minutes and seeing nobody comes on and be like, "Hey, thanks for the live stream. I'm out of here. Bye." Here we are at 2 hours and 14 minutes. So let's see. Okay, so all right, might have jumped in at the right time, but Cad Bane is confirmed. Come back. And I heard it's the new guy who's the fake Boba Fett. Ah, see, now this is where things get interesting because I could see that actually work. Like I was just saying, like that guy who's playing the Ali Fonda or whatever his name is. I could see that guy playing like Cad Bane. The way he's like grizzled and experienced. Of course, it's going to be CGI, probably if he's in there. I mean, his body double or something, but I could see that happening. Dark Nerdy Gonzo. Oh, Jedi Fallen Order figures in 3.75 inch, and Patrick Slater told me I had 10 seconds to ask, so that's what I asked him. And instead of answering me, he actually flipped me off. No joke. What? Oh, man. Wait, like one of the representatives from Hasbro? Dude. I mean, that guy seemed really nice. Like the panels I don't. Who knows? Maybe he had a bad day or something. I don't know. Been on adventures. I have the original trilogy on VHS. Have to save those since Han shot first. Yeah. I also have 2 versions of them. I'm looking at them right now. I have the classic one with like Yoda and Darth Vader and a stormtrooper on each one of the cassettes. And then I have the original trilogy with like the gold kind of plated stuff. Chris Forsyth, I have a bunch of VHS. We need to copy my stuff. Sorry I'm late, man. Hanging on the stoop with the neighbors. Yeah, how's Philly doing? Because that's got to be interesting being a city with what's going on. Definitely nowhere near as bad as New York, luckily. I haven't been to Philly in a while, though. The last time I was there might have been when I went to that Comic-Con where I seen you, man. And who knows what's going on with Celebration, because you're still going if it's happening, right? Are you going to still go to Celebration if it happens? It was a funny story because me and Chris Forsyth, we met actually at a bar crawl. And it was the week after I got back from Celebration. It was like a May the 4th bar crawl. It was really a lot of fun. But it also happened to be like on the same weekend, of course, because it's May 4th, that all the Cinco de Mayo parties are happening in Philly. So like half the places we would go, people would like, "What are you doing?" And it's like, "Oh, they're all there for Cinco de Mayo, but we're there for Star Wars." So it's like, I met him and he was like, "Hey, I went to Celebration." I was like, "Really?" I was just there. And it was like, "Oh, cool." So we've been friends ever since that. But just goes to show you, like, the Star Wars community, you never know who you might run into. And It's always fun when you can link up with people. Yeah, so if you guys, I'm gonna have to wrap things up for sure here. Let's see. Joel Dave, sadly, it would have been so close to home, but I'm not going to Celebration, too risky. Yeah, I agree, man. I mean, like I said, if it does happen, there's gonna be many people that don't go. It's just, oh man, I had so much fun for my first celebration. Like I met so many people, and I was honestly the happiest in my life. I know it's the craziest thing to say, but I was at a point where I was so happy, and like everywhere I was walking around, I was meeting people. I was having a blast. It was like Nirvana. It really was. Like I can't explain it without acting so generic, but it really felt like one of the happiest moments in my life. Just going around, being surrounded by all these fans, everybody fans of the same thing, and everybody having a common interest that you can talk to anybody and you have a great conversation about it. Dark Dirty Godzo, yeah, caught me off guard as well, but it's true he didn't answer me and just waved his hand in my face and turned and walked away. It wasn't like he flipped me the bird for context. Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, that's the thing is like they get hounded by people after the fact. Of course, let's not talk about it, but at least I'm back to work. Yeah, no, that's all good, man. As long as you're safe, you're good. Um, Geeksack thoughts on Barnes and Noble canceling their Alphabet Squadron exclusive edition. Why cancel? I think they just didn't have people in the shipping departments or the distribution or whatever in the printing factories printing the I don't know. Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense. I guess they just didn't have the workforce to be able to make the bookmarks, right? Because that's what the thing was. It was just like the bookmarks. And Free Comic Book Day. Wait, didn't Free Comic Book Day pass already a while ago? Uh, Ben on Adventures, big props to you for always being a good representative in the fan community. Here's the 1K more. Oh, thanks a lot for that, Ben. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. That really means a lot to me, man. Yeah, I try to be neutral. I really don't want to start up any kind of fights. I say it like it is, and I agree and I'll disagree, and I'll do so respectively. And just like many of you guys have said certain things about, oh, I like this movie, this thing I don't like, and hey, we're all adults. We're all mature. We can agree and we can disagree without, cursing each other out and, all that terrible stuff that is what happens too often in Star Wars fandom, if you ask me, which is unfortunate. Nerdy Gonzo, honestly, didn't think Star Wars Celebration is going to happen this year, but I hope NYCC will happen. But they should have announced it already, so ticks already, so Shutter. Um, yeah, it's like I think they just don't announce it yet because I heard something about the insurance. Like, if the facility literally shuts down, then I guess they could maybe save money rather than them canceling themselves out. I don't know anything about any of this, and this is all speculation from other things I've heard from other people. So again, I don't want to clarify anything like that because I know nothing about any of that. Um, Chris Forsyth, it's stressing me out right now because my crap is paid for. It's just a flight and a hotel now, and how cheap everything is. I want to go, but even if it's canceled, Disneyland is going to be cool. Closed. Oh, Ben on Ventures. May the Force be with you. Have a great weekend. Hey, you too, man. Everybody, stay safe. Thanks a lot for providing lots of questions on here, man. It's been a lot of fun talking to everybody here. Yeah, that's the thing with me is like I have my hotel paid for. I didn't get the tickets yet for the plane, but I also scored a ticket to the Disneyland Nights event, and I really wanted to go. My first time going to California, and I'm like all psyched for this trip, and yeah, it's just a bummer for everybody, no matter what way you look at it. Yeah. Well, guys, I think I'm gonna wrap things up here. I want to thank everybody for getting involved, whether you sent in a comment through Twitter or through YouTube, my posts on there ahead of time, or if you guys were one of the very many that were active in tonight's chat. You guys are awesome, and this really gives me the impetus to do more of these, especially because I got so much going on here. I was able to do this for like 2.5 hours, which is exceeding my expectations, which is, again, awesome stuff. Thanks for everybody joining here. We had great conversations. We had people talking to each other through the chat room. That was awesome. You know, I have like 8 concurrent viewers right now. I mean, hey, I'm not huge on metrics and all that, but seriously, guys, that was a lot of fun, and I'll talk to y'all in the meantime, and it's gonna be great. 1,000 subs again. Thanks for everybody that's continued to support. Thanks to everybody who sent in their congratulations. It really does mean a lot to me. Like I said, I have plenty of videos that came out this week. There was one other video that I put out this week, and it's gonna bother me until I tell you guys what was the video I released on Tuesday. Oh, you know what? I think it was one of the book reviews I had. Or one of the book reviews was on Monday. Oh yeah, Fire and Blood. Fire and Blood. I put that on Monday. It's the game Ice and Song of Fire. I gotta talk more about that on the channel. Maybe I will. Maybe I won't. Who knows what'll happen. But anyway, it's been a lot of fun tonight, guys. Great way to kind of to spend a Friday night where you can't do much during a pandemic. So it's a way for me to connect to you guys and hopefully give you guys some entertainment in a way, discussions and whatnot. I can keep rambling on and on, but I'm gonna let everybody go. Thank you so much for watching, and for people that watched even after the fact that this went live. I hope everybody enjoyed this. Let me know in the comment section below if you want me to do more of these, because I can try to fit in my schedule. We got a little bit more spare time these days. But anyway, that is going to do it for me. Thanks everybody for joining, and may the force be with you always.